This episode of Watch Out for Fireball is brought to you by a couple things. First of all of our patrons, our wonderful patrons at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Thank you guys very much. I really do appreciate that. We appreciate you. Second, it's brought to you by all of the wonderful other shows on the network. If you haven't, why not give a listen to Days of Futurecast? That is me and network frequent guest and host Jeremy Greer tackling the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Started with an episode-by-episode, roughly, podcast about the X-Men animated series and moved on to other Marvel cartoons and movies. Check it out. That's Days of Futurecast. Thank you. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are continuing our discussion of Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Am. This is part 3, wrapping up chapter 2 and going, we think, through the Underdark, although best laid plans and all that.
Yeah, the Underdark's meaty, but the nice thing is we'll have time in the last episode. And maybe the last episode will be like a day.
Ooh.
Maybe it'll just take like a day
to
get through.
Maybe,
like a day.
Maybe by the time you're listening to this, we're still recording it.
Perhaps we will be dead. But you will be dead.
We will all soon be dust.
Soon we will all be dust.
Yeah.
It's just the kind of thing. But we've got our Rod of Resurrection. Like, that sounds like a thing.
Yeah,
in a way I'm not super comfortable with. Like, I don't like Rod.
Yeah, more of a staff. More of a staff kind of guy, I think.
Staff of why does Staff of Resurrection not sound dirty, but Rod of Resurrection sounds... Because it sounds like a guy.
Yeah, that's the
thing. Like, hello, I'm Rod.
I'm Rodney of Resurrection.
Yeah, hello, I'm Rod of Resurrection. You know? Yeah. Like, that's, it sounds dirty to me.
Yeah. And also I've been thinking about resurrection sickness a lot lately. So there's that, getting the blood going again.
Yeah,
just is part of the resurrection spell is part of that to like re-liquefy the blood?
I think it just starts going again.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Like as solids, I think at that point you're like Union Station, and just like the blood just pushes through like choo-choos. Yeah,
it'd be like that weird red snake thing that guy coughed up.
Yeah. Or like one of those fireworks. Those weird little, just like, here's a nub, and if you burn it, it stinks and gets longer.
Oh, the snakes.
Because fireworks are so dumb.
Yeah.
Just like, this is a snake. It's just like foul smelling little like diseased tube. They're so gross. Anywho, so we're wrapping up a little bit of chapter 2, because we ran out of time last time. So we're going to get right started. Go back to the old episodes to hear how we got here. And we're going to check out Trade Meat. That is at some point when you're at the city gates, a little kid named Flydian will walk up and say, like, hey, in my hometown, there's all these vicious animals attacking. And we think it's the druids, but come check it out and help if you're heroes.
Yes.
And we do.
If you want to put your money where your mouth is, you're a big shot.
Yeah, listen, Rod. If you think you're gonna be able to, if you're gonna wear the cloak. You gotta do the toke, cloak, or smoke.
Yep. Nobody
rides for free.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody gets XP for free.
And if you have Minsk in your party, when this quest is handed over to you, he bothers you about it every day, I think.
It's kind of his quest. It's not really, though, because as we mentioned, Minsk doesn't have a quest.
Right.
He will take up certain kind of things as his pet issue.
Yes.
This is, if you're a druid, this is how you get your stronghold. This is the druid path.
Right. And it's also where you get a druid if Jaheira is not enough for you.
Yeah, if you need, you're just hungry for druids.
Yeah.
Like if your online handle is horny for druids at AOL.com. So you arrive in Trade Meet, and I like Trade Meet in general because it's a big city for fantasy standards.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not as big as but it's cool that there's another kind of like relatively major city.
Yeah, it's like
there's like Chicago and Rock. You know,
it's like an affluent little city state almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you arrive and you fight off some of these animals, and the militia is real on edge because they believe that you are a druid spy. So the vilification has proceeded.
Yep. So they say like, well, listen, if you're here, go and talk to the mayor. You go and talk to the mayor. The mayor says, listen, like we've captured one of these druids. I don't think that the druid actually did it though. Do you think you can actually investigate? Go check out the Druid Grove and go check with my boy in the basement prison and see what you can find out.
Yes.
And there's this whole like little kind of subplot here with this captain of the merchant guild,
right?
As well, who's kind of against it and kind of wants you just to murder everybody.
Right.
In general. And I didn't do anything with that. I can't remember how that articulates differently if you do.
Yeah,
I just did the good path here.
If that guy held me down, I ignored him because he was very obviously ignoring the actual story that was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So the druid that they have captured is our boy Cerned, who is not necessarily a beloved character. When I read about him online, people talk shit about his default stats as being real rough. And then in addition to druids kind of being looked down upon, I just think Cern's characterization is super weak. He's like he's like a glass of skim milk with a headdress put on it.
His whole thing is he's like real dry because he's true neutral or whatever. And apparently some of the later interactions you can have with him are really funny. Like he's supposed to, like his sense of humor is supposed to come out if you use him. So his stats, he has 18 wisdom, which he's the only cleric other than Viconia who has, max wisdom, which is great. All of his other physical stats, though, are really bad. And to make up for this, and this is weirdly not treated as a reveal. I was going to say that I'm going to spoil something, but like when it happens, it just happens and no one comments on it. He's a werewolf.
Yeah.
So like he can turn into a werewolf, and he gets a stat boost. The biggest issue though is that his claws are like at a set amount of magic, plus a certain amount to hit.
Right.
And it will just get outpaced.
Yeah, so like there are a couple you can turn into like greater werewolves or something like that, which will
which is a little bit better, but still not all the way up.
Right.
So he will just his transformation form will get outpaced, and I don't think he can cast while as a werewolf. I've never taken him in my party, so I might be wrong about that.
He was my rotating sixth for this because I wanted to see if there was something to him. And like the idea of having having him transform is neat. However, my front line was already really, really deep. I had Minsk and I had Korgun. And I didn't really need him. He was good for the final encounter in this. But necessarily for everything else, he was really duplicative.
Yeah. I think we talked about this a little bit in one of the episodes, but the narrative that there are certain characters in Baldur's Gate 2 that are like untakeable is generally untrue. Right. Like you could do fine with Cern if you think he's cool. You'll be fine. Yeah. I've just never taken him. I can't really speak to him, and he is a weird spot in this if you don't take him. So like you go down in the basement, and he says like, hey, the druid said there's something going on. Come check it out. Would you like to go with? I'll go with you, or you can just meet me there. I just said I would meet him there. You head there and you head to this map of like kind of grotesque looking greenery.
Yeah, it's like a swamp almost.
Yeah, like the swamp. You head there, you get warned off. There's a guy named Powden. He said, "Listen, this grove is protected. Take by these druids of Tethir, and leadership has been usurped by a shadow druid. This woman named Faldorn. So that was what happened. The druids aren't evil. There's a shadow druid that took over. They're like Greenpeace.
Are they?
Yeah, I think the shadow druids are just like dark nature.
Okay.
Like eco-terrorists essentially is how they're kind of portrayed, because they're still pro-nature and they have their summons or whatever are warped and twisted, but they're not. I don't think they're like toxic shamans from Shadowrun, if I recall.
Right. Just they are extremist in the sense that they don't believe that coexisting with civilization is possible.
If I recall.
Okay. Yeah. I just thought like, oh, they're just evil druids. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Is this character Faldorn? Is this somebody from Baldur's Gate 1?
No, I don't think so. That would make a lot of sense, but I don't think so.
Yeah. I was looking at Baldur's Gate 1 characters, and somebody had a name that was similar to this.
Oh, yeah. It could be, but just somebody I never took.
Yeah. So you end up, fighting your way through this area that ends up being like really important for a couple of side quests. Oddly enough, this Druid Grove. It's neat. You get some trolls, you get some myconids. I love fighting the myconids because they are always preceded by the spore storm or whatever.
Yeah. Which confuses your guys, so it ends up actually being really tricky. Like, you can send in summons, you can send in fireballs and be okay. Mm-hmm. But if you just they're just going to put out enough spores that eventually you're going to fail a save.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But at the end of this, you get to the center of the grove, and you confront Faldorn, basically saying, "Hey, it is not great for the only druid watch or head here to be a shadow, to be a shadow druid. We need to challenge you with the Rite of Ascension. So that means we got to fight naked in a pit."
Yep, exactly. Like so that's how druids, they do these little naked spell offs. Mm-hmm. Or shapeshift offs is how they determine leadership. Mm-hmm. I guess that's part of why Cern being a werewolf seems less cool to me, is that all druids can just transform into something.
That's the thing. That's why it seems unremarkable.
Like Jahira is a were-troll, like by all intents and purposes. Like the fact they can turn into a werewolf doesn't seem particularly cool to me.
Yeah.
So they fight. Even if you don't have him in your party, he just goes and does this fight.
Mm.
There's this one-on-one fight because you as a non-druid can't challenge the druid leader for supremacy. Cern just does it. So if you don't take him with you, it's a little weird. It's like you just kind of go here to watch him solo this quest. He turns into a werewolf. She turns into a panther. The werewolf wins. And then that's that quest. But Trade Meat has some other problems. We have to go do some extra stuff to become the hero of Trade Meat.
Yes.
But that's how you do that, and Cern will follow you. And if you're a druid, then you can actually challenge for Ascension, and this becomes your grove.
Yes. Or you can have Jahira challenge as well, but that was not necessarily, didn't work that well for me to do that. Him being able to turn into a werewolf was a big help. I just did a check. Faldorn is a recruitable companion in Baldur's Gate 1. If you already tweeted at us about that, please wait till the end. Please
rescind your tweet. I wonder where you find Faldorn, because that just does not sound familiar to me.
Yeah. Available from Chapter 4. She can be found in the third part of the Cloakwood and will join you in bringing an end to the activities of the Iron Throne.
Oh! Look at how angry she is.
Yeah, she's very angry. She's got a real vampire being exposed to the sun kind of look to her.
It does look like that.
Yeah. Huh. It's like Bart after when he lost his soul.
He lost his soul. He does not look like or she does not look like she's true neutral to me.
No.
Yeah.
Again, weird.
Yeah, I never took her because she's like evil. She's not evil alignment, but if you look at all her stuff, she's extremely evil.
Yeah, her relationships, she doesn't get along with Dana here or any of that.
Yeah, and if I wanted, because you can get Branwen. So my cleric, my healer was dialed.
Yeah,
in Baldur's Gate 1 because Branwen's solid. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So that's why Faith came to her. That's where they are now.
Yep.
She got murdered by a werewolf in a pit. So
where are they now?
The yearbook prophecy came true. Most likely to.
Murder in a pit. Yeah, they had to stop doing superlatives after kid after it turned out the kid who won worst dress was actually really poor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Stop letting the kids choose it for each other. Stop letting the most popular kid just name all of the other kids.
Yes, to canonize their brethren.
Most popular kids who are in yearbook. Anywho, there's other stuff to do.
Yes. This isn't so much a quest, it's just a fun scene with Wilfred the Red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who's bragging to prostitutes.
Yep.
You head in and he's just bragging about being this adventurer who single-handedly killed a dragon. And if you have high enough wisdom, or if your main character, can check his story when you talk to him and be like, "Oh, did you really do that? How did that go?" And for me at this point, it's like, "What? I fucking killed a red dragon." It's not like that. And he admits that what he actually did was he stole from a red dragon.
Right.
He found one. He ran away. His party was there. He got separated.
Yeah.
He came upon a red dragon that was sleeping and stole from it.
Yeah, which means that he's not long for this world anyway. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah, you might as well. I kept quiet. I took his bribe. Just let him have his power trip.
Yeah.
Oh, the other side.
What's interesting is this genie embargo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this takes us back to the Druid Grove. What's happening is, this is a trade town, but there's a huge crackdown going on. They're actually kind of under siege by this group of genies from Kalimshan. What's that?
These Dao.
Yes.
For people who listen to Monster My podcast.
Yeah, which you should. Please do.
Yeah.
But they're here from Kalimshan, and they're looking for a rogue Rakshasa.
Yes, and since they kind of suspect the town of harboring them, they say, well, what we're going to do is we're going to buy all the goods when a company comes into town or when a trader comes into town. We're going to buy everything they own, jack up the prices.
Mm-hmm.
So we will hold this town under economic siege until they produce the Rakshaka for us. I don't think they thought it was like an Anne Frank thing.
Right.
I think they just wanted someone else to do their work.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, pretty fucked up. You can go and you can buy from these guys, and their prices actually aren't that high.
Mm-hmm.
I was really expecting it to be like out of this world. I'm like, I'll buy your Ring of Earth Control for 2,000 gold. That's reasonable. One of these guys, you can also steal a genie lamp of genie summoning or a bottle of Afridi summoning, which is a cool summon.
Yeah, I tried to get that, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah, I could see they're from Kalimshan. I can see them having enough means to be able to just kind of like sell stuff at a competitive price. They just buy it really expensively out of spite. Yeah. So when we were up in the Druid Grove, we found this old woman in a hut who was selling potions, like a bog witch kind of person. If we have this quest flag here, then she says, "Oh, you reek of Tao," and she transforms, and she's got her friends who attack you.
Yeah, and you fight a bunch of Rakshakas in this cramped little shop. Mm-hmm. They're not so bad; they don't cast very many spells.
Right.
Here we're gonna, later in the game, there's a bunch of Rakshakas we'll fight.
Yeah,
a little bit tougher, and you can head back and say, dismiss the genie, reignite trade. If you do that and you take care of the animal trouble, the mayor fucking loses his shit for you and throws like a party for you that starts like in the mayor's house, and then you become the hero of trade meet. Like they have this public fountain, and they will make sculptures of your party based on like when you talk to them.
Yeah.
The fun thing to do is polymorph the shit out of your guys.
Oh, of course, because they will not be turned gray.
Well, not just they won't be. The statues will be made of their polymorph form. So, like Aerie was like an ooze, and Jan was an ooze, and had a lot of oozes. He has little sculptures of oozes on there. So.
Yeah, I absolutely had Cerned. He was a werewolf, and he was still he moved like it was just his idle animation standing up there. Yeah,
the statue is alive, but it's kind of like you get a +1 reputation, but it just kind of feels good to have like in this world, like, oh, there's little statues of my guy. Like I saved this town. It feels good.
There's a little bit of dissonance in the fact that like getting that statue, like what the quest I had to do was not necessarily even the hardest I had done that day. Yeah.
It's not like the curve, the trade meet curve is very generous. Yes. It's a warm open mic.
They're just happy you're having a good time. But while you're at this party, you're approached by two people. First is Lady Lilith Lyrixol. Seems on the level to me. She approaches you saying like, "Hey, I've got a job for you. Swing by my mansion, and I'll talk to you." And then right after that, we have Scarmayan Alibakar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Who says like, "Oh, don't work for her. Come work for me." And it turns out there's this huge feud over who can lay claim to having founded Trade Meet.
So they want you to get this thing from an ancient crypt. There's a local crypt. They say like, "Hey, find this object from inside this crypt. We'll give you the key to it, and they'll prove that our family is the origin of this."
Yes, you can choose to do it for either family. However, it's like the same quest either way.
Yeah. The mayor stops you and says like, "Listen, that circlet's not going to prove anything because they have a common descendant. Why don't you give me the circlet, and I'll just like kind of take care of this."
Yes.
So you can do that. That's the good ending, and neither side wins. If you actually give the circlet to one of them to prove, then the other guy gets mad. And you can just choose which one you want.
Yeah. For me, I gave it to Lilith, and then both of them attacked me. Like, everybody attacked me, and the mayor was very, very disappointed.
I told you guys to give me the circlet. I wonder if that was supposed to happen.
I don't know
if she was supposed to aggro, because I think you can just do it for one of the groups. I don't think they're always supposed to betray you, but could be wrong about that.
I was fine with the result of getting rid of old money.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, let the state take their thing and then just redistribute it amongst the merchants and good people of trade me.
Yeah.
So the most interesting quest, and I love that this is a payoff for something you potentially did like hours and hours, like tens of hours ago.
That's good. You find somebody on their second life.
Yeah, it's neat. So this woman named Jenya approaches you on the street and says, like, listen, you're the heroes of trade me. I need a favor. My son, Terrace, is too scared to leave home. Can you talk to him?
Right.
It's a little bit outside my wheelhouse, but okay.
I was expecting him to be a little boy, not grown-ass man.
Yeah, Terrace is just a guy.
just
leaving the house? Not for me. No, thank you.
I will go to a home for scared people, but So you go talk to him, and he says, hey, I was out walking with my girlfriend, and we were attacked by some manner of skinless man. Sweet. And he took Raisa, his girlfriend, and Tyrus got away, and now he lives in fear that he is a loose end, and also guilt over having kind of abandoned his girlfriend a little bit.
But I have a buddy, and I won't name them, but he was walking out with his girlfriend, and they got mugged, and he sprinted the fuck away.
Oh no!
And it became like kind of we gave him a lot of shit about that at the time, and it was just like he was just scared and stuff. Like it probably wasn't mean to give him shit about it, but also just like
it's also just incredibly
immediately
funny.
Turning and running. Just like, I know I'm out of here. Like it's every man for himself immediately.
Just shot Thunderdome.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just like Call of Cthulhu, like save one bullet to shoot your companion in the leg and run.
That is very, very funny.
So he really terraced it. And he had a clue when the person said something. They said their name. Their name was Rajik, and we're like, "Whoa, we know who Rajik is."
Yeah,
that's cool. That was that guy who got away from us. Yeah, that's the one who got away.
Yeah.
He went. He's jumping town to town like a drifter serial killer. Cool.
So yeah, this is the continuation of the Skinner murders. He got away in his boat that was underneath his house.
Yep, the night boat. The skin taking boat.
Yeah. Skin boat.
The skin boat.
Yeah. And you can find a man who claims to be hunting this skin dancer creature, right?
Yeah.
Saying like, hey, he's taking this maiden from town. We need to work together to go to go into this guy. You can follow him to the appointed place, and things seem really fishy. Like the murderer is incapacitated, and everybody's saying, "Kill him, kill him, kill him!" And the woman is there, but she's not necessarily talking to us.
Yep. And he's just the woman just standing there staring. And what happened was, so when everyone tells you to do something in a video game, don't do it.
Right.
So it turns out that the maiden and skin dancer switched skins. The skin dancer put its skin onto the maiden. Took the maiden's skin and was trying to get you to murder the lady to wrap up this loose end. And they talk about it. Like when you don't fall for it, they're like, well, it was worth a shot, because that would have gotten them off the trail.
Yeah.
People would have thought the killer was dead.
Yeah. Well, and the guy who brought you in, he's in cahoots with the skin dancer. Yeah. He's a skin dancer himself. He immediately goes to, this is a stupid plan. It was never going to work.
Yep. So he's like, no, we had to take him off our scent. So they both turn. You fight these two skin dancers. It's a pretty minor fight. Like this whole thing is not about challenge. It's just creepy and cool.
Yeah.
The murderer gets up, tries to put on her own skin, but it's not attached. And that's scary and gross.
Yeah. So
and she's talking about how it hurts and it feels really, really weird. So you have to cast restoration on her.
Yeah. Well, she is one of them now. Her skin is portable. Yeah.
Yeah. And to reattach her skin to her body. And just imagine your skin being on you but not affixed. Like you literally wore your skin like a suit. It's super creepy.
I'm going to need you to take some water, put some sugar in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just really, really spooky stuff. But Lesser Restoration saves the day, and then she goes off to marry Terrace, the coward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just ready to move on with her life. That's fine.
Yep. And just I'm sure he'll never hear the end of that.
Honey, will you take out the garbage? No, the game's on.
Yeah. Oh, are you too scared to take out the garbage? I get you.
Okay. Yeah.
There's an Atugya out there. Okay.
Well, the ODU is just like he's our garbage disposal because every time an ODU pops up, exactly.
So this is also I didn't take her either, so we can't really talk too much about it. This is where Mazzy lives. Mm-hmm. So she has a kind of a series of quests with her family. She's a really well integrated character that I just, since I was an archer, I didn't have room for.
Yeah.
So we've raised our money.
Yeah. And this actually, it trips before you even raise the full 20,000. Mm-hmm. At least for me it did. Yeah. Like if at 15,000 somebody swung by, and made an offer saying, hey, my name's Valen. My mistress, she has been watching you. Can you go meet with her in the graveyard district? Mm-hmm. And this is where our paths kind of diverge, because I decide to work with this mysterious rival guild that has been fighting the Shadow Thieves, whereas you stick with the original plan. You, Gary, stuck with the original plan and worked with Galen. Yeah.
Somebody also brought up, I'm going to kind of vamp here because I need to pull up a wiki for this, just because it's been a minute. I beat this game a while ago now. But mention it's like why somebody on Twitter was like, hey, why would the vampires form a guild? That's pretty weird. Why would they do that? And I think that, one, we know why they're recruiting and stuff. We find that out this episode. But one of the things I always kind of liked about this, or one of the things that's like headcanon for me, is that they didn't form a guild. They were just kind of committing this war, and the people called it a guild,
right?
Because they didn't have any other words for it.
Right. For this heavily organized presence that stands athwart this other thing that happens to be named. Yeah.
Yeah. They're a bunch of vampires, but we don't know what else to call this. Like guild is the language that we have.
Right.
For this. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this takes us into chapter 3, and we're going to do like a little bit of a book report kind of thing. Mm-hmm. In thinking about how to structure this, Gary, did you get 3 quests to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the quests actually stand athwart each other. So whereas I'm like stopping a shipment, you are protecting a shipment.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You hear from both people regardless.
Right.
So like even, both of them say like, hey, choose me. And, and you can go and reject their offer. Like I went and talked to Bodhi in the graveyard district and just said no.
Right.
And all of the good people, like my paladin was fucking losing his mind like about this. He's just like, his spider sense was just going off like
dog in a thunderstorm.
Yeah. I had to give him a thunder armor, a thunder shirt +5 to calm him down. Cause he was really freaking out. Yeah. So I ended up going to Galen. His man Bruce comes and says like, hey, like we're going to sweeten the deal. You meet Galen eventually. He's the real power behind the Shadow Thieves. Like Reynold Bloodscalp is the fake power. You keep going back into the Thieves Guild, which is really kind of cool and elaborate. And it's because it's a dungeon.
Yeah.
As the vampires, I think they want you to go fight there.
Oh yeah, I clean that place out.
Yeah, they want you to clean out. So it looks really unusual if you're just there for like, why are there all these like fucking hallways and stuff? Like, this thing is huge. It's because it's an alternate dungeon.
Yeah.
Here. You go and you talk to Aaron Linvale, and he says, like, listen, I can still help you. You have to do these 3 quests for me. I'm going to give you an Amulet of Power, which is very important because it makes you immune to level drain, and a Ring of Protection +2.
Nice.
And this is, I imagine, similar like setup when you go meet Bodhi.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, go meet her in the graveyard, and she's like, hey, I need you to do these jobs. It's going to be dirty. These deaths, though, will be strategic, almost artistic. And it's really antagonistic. It's obvious that she's up to no good, and everything is kind of framed as like stringing you along, trying to like get one more like dirty job out of you, one more DVD copy of Dirty Jobs starring Norm Macdonald out of you. Before she'll tell you like where your sister and your soul
Dirty
are.
Works.
Yes.
Dirty Work is the name of that, not Dirty Jobs. That's the Mike Rowe.
Oh
show.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. He was actually named that because under his skin he's made of roe.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah. So the first one the second one is actually diverges. The first one though is for the thieves. You have to protect a shipment. Their shipments have been being hit.
Mhm.
They've been smuggling things into town, and the vampires have been fucking it up. So you have to go protect a shipment. And this is just you go and fight some vampires.
Yes.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, and in mine, I was the person who fought the shadow thieves at the docks.
Mm-hmm. And there was no me to protect them, so
Yeah.
you slayed. The second one, this diverges, is kind of interesting. So we need to find out where this guild, learn about them and learn where they're headquartered. We fucking know, but we have to find out for some reason. So Aaron puts you on this. He says hey, 2 of our people are planning to defect. Go pose as the other guild and learn what you can from them. So you go to an inn. You go talk to these 2 guys who are defecting, and you have to, or not pose as the other guild, but pose as if you're defecting as well. And this is really fun because you have to kind of trick them into dropping information that they don't want to drop. And the way you do it is kind of saying accusing them of being spies.
Okay.
If you're not a cop, you take this hit.
Yes.
Essentially. And eventually, you do this, they get wise to you, but they drop the name of the contact. You kill them. The contact comes. It's one of Bodhi's lieutenants. I can't remember his name. And you say you pretend to be the 2 people you killed, and say yeah, we'll be there. We're defecting. Tell us where to go. And he tells you the location of the crypt.
Okay. Yeah. So you've already been to this crypt, or at least adjacent to it.
Yeah.
Just in the course of doing the graveyard quest. So that's that's pretty funny. Did you have a choice of what quest you did for the second?
No. I know that Bodhi, because they want Bodhi not to be that's also the neutral path, and they want people who are good who don't have Keldorn with them to be able to choose the Bodhi path reasonably, I think. Okay. So they say how dirty you want to get.
Yeah, so that's the thing. They say hey, we're going to give you an option here. There's a good option where you go and rescue one of the vampire agents from the Shadow Thieves. The bad though involves just straight up political assassination, murder. What you're trying to do is get the city authorities and kind of the nobility to turn against the Shadow Thieves. Basically they say we've existed alongside them for a long time. Now they are a problem. So they're just trying to create political heat. So you have to go and kill this heavily guarded politician, and then plant a Shadow Thief, dagger and robe in his fountain so that everybody will think that the Shadow Thieves did it.
Yeah. Interesting. So it's cool they give you the option. And the third one is, they're mirror images of each other. It's either hey, go kill the vampires in Bodhi, or go kill the thieves.
Yes.
And what's interesting here is that vampires are definitely tougher opponents than Shadow Thieves. Shadow Thieves have stealth, so the way they work mechanically, because you end up fighting a few of them just as when you're playing good as well, is that they can be hiding in shadow and appear behind you and backstab and get pretty good damage against you. But vampires level drain. Vampires are totally different things. So doing the good path in this is significantly harder.
And it's also more of a drag because you have to go back to Bodhi's crypt anyway in the main course of the game.
Yeah.
Spoilers,
We're gonna Bodhi it up later too.
Yeah.
This is your pre-Bodhi. So it's a little bit silly. I understand what they were doing, as far as, making that have that parity, but I like that they're unbalanced. I like that one is harder than the other. I don't like that they reuse the same location a couple of times.
Right.
It's a striking location. I get why they do it. But it's a little bit bummer that they make you redo it.
Yeah. So talk about how the siege on the crypt articulates, and also described a little bit of the crypt itself, and then I'll talk about sieging the Shadow Thief HQ.
So you can't get into the actual inner sanctum of the thing. You've explored the outer crypts before, but there's a door you can't get into. So they send a mage with a golem to knock that open. You head in, and inside there are a bunch of vampires and a bunch of these things that are called grave lords, which are floating sets of armor and weapons. And you fight a lot of them. There's a mechanic where named vampires, after you kill them, they go to their crypt, and you go there, and if you use a stake on their crypt, they won't respawn, but otherwise they will. So you can actually clear it out kind of methodically here. And there are a couple of cool set pieces. There's a hot tub, koi pond full of blood koi. And there's a giant room full of spikes.
Yep.
that's really neat. Like it just looks like it drains to the center pool
Mm-hmm.
and stuff you have to get to. What essentially you want to do is make your way through and get to that hot tub full of blood because it has a Mace of Disruption +1 at the bottom, which I don't know why these vampires are keeping this thing that has like a 5% chance of killing them every time they touch it at the bottom of their hot tub.
Yeah.
Like we just can't use that hot tub anymore.
No.
Like it's too risky, you know? But the way to clear this, the good way to clear all the vampire stuff in this, the easy way is to take that Mace of Disruption, take that Eryllithium stuff that you got from the Sir Sarl's quest, go upgrade to a +2. A +2 Mace of Disruption has a better chance of killing undead on hit and makes you immune to level drain.
Yeah.
So I gave Keldorn and my boy Animan the Incel this and that are Amulet of Power that makes you immune to level drain, and they just walk through and cleared house.
There's the Wrecking Crew. Yeah.
Yep, they're like literally just the Wrecking Crew until eventually you get to Bodhi's Sanctum. She does like a lot of villain speech stuff here, just talking about that her and Irenicus are really actually together. She hints about that. Some stuff about dark destiny or what have you. Yeah. And then you fight her, and she is a tougher vampire. But you have immunity to level drain. Like she just, she's not actually that.
Her main trick is kind of taken from her. Yeah.
Yep. So my two guys, my guys in the background could kind of pepper her with bullets and spells, but my main guys just stood there and kind of tanked. So it's pretty easy with that Mace of Disruption +2. You have to like leave for a day. You have to take the mace and go forge it and stuff. But all the vampires wait. They're very patient.
It's real.
The
vampires are patient. Vampires are kind.
These. If you're immortal, you can wait for a Mace of Disruption +2 to get forged.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
Yeah.
So.
And if you take the vampire side, you can get that mace for yourself and then go make it as too. Because
you're going to end up fighting the vampires later anyway. That mace still ended up being very useful for vampires later on. So.
Yeah. So for me, talk to Bodhi, and she also reveals I am looking for Irenicus as well. We are related. All that I'm interested in is that you give me access to or have him relinquish his knowledge. Like she's real cagey about it, but it's very obvious that she is in cahoots with him just based on everything we have seen so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I have to go and kill Galen, to get the siege or to get the key, to the basement of the headquarters. And this basement is super neat, because it's like a trading alley. It's like a Hogan's Alley, down to the part where they have a fake town.
Yeah. This little fake Blazing Saddles town, and just a hallway full of doors that are locked, area thin narrow walkways with spinning dummies.
Yeah.
Knock you off of the kind of stuff that Geralt trained with Ciri.
Yeah,
and stuff.
It's a little bit like that, the crazy Foot Clan hideout in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah, less cigarettes.
Yes, fewer
cigarettes. Less teens, But it is a really cool looking place, and this becomes when you become the leader of the Thieves Guild. Oh no, you actually get you get Mavar's zone, so you don't get this. This is not for players. This is just a cool thing.
This is not for you. One of the ways they try to make this difficult, and it ends up working. It gets really ambush heavy. So even when you're walking back through a place that you had previously cleared out, they will have shadow thieves, whole groups of them and mixed parties of them spawn in around you. And just kind of, will go for the kill that way. So it's a little bit difficult.
And that's their whole thing.
Yeah.
They're hiding in shadows.
So it's real neat. You have to press a button and you've got to get a key that'll get you in. So so you can kill the actual head of the HQ. He says, "You fool, what are you doing? Why would you side with them? I'm doing a podcast and we need to talk about both of these."
Yep. I understand what vampires are. Give me a break. I don't know if I can't remember if I mentioned this. You don't kill Bodhi. When you get Bodhi very hurt, she teleports away.
Yeah.
So that's worth mentioning because Bodhi, we are going to come back and kill Bodhi later, regardless of which side we choose.
Yes.
When you finish the everything here, you go back to whoever your patron is, or at least I went back to Aaron Linval, and he says okay, we're going to go on a trip. We can I figure out where we're going. We're going to Spellhold. I know how to get you in there. Sell all your stuff, prepare, buy anything you need. And then this captain, I've hired this shady captain to take you to Spellhold.
Right.
So just go talk to him when you're ready.
Yes. This is important because when you leave Athkatla, you are gone for a very long time, and the game takes on a far more linear kind of tack to it.
Mm-hmm.
There was one cutscene that we kind of skipped that reveals a little bit. So we know that they are at Spellhold, but we do not know where it is or how far away it is, things like that. We actually get an interstitial where Irenicus, he has escaped his cell, and he's taking Imoen off for his experiments. So it is not necessarily the punishment that we thought it was going to be, almost to the point where, oh, this was totally part of his plan.
Yeah, he wanted to be captured, and you can definitely see hints of that early on.
Yes,
and stuff. But it is it's neat.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see it in action. Irenicus is a very capable villain.
Yes.
So you with this guy, Saman Harvarian, this captain. Even the narrator, when you do the chapter, when it starts at chapter 4, you get these like little narrations with this like beautiful little like cutscene. This image.
It's like a mosaic kind of thing almost.
Yeah, mosaic was the word I almost said stained glass, but mosaic was what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And even the narrator's like, with your captain, Saman Harvarian. You go to, like, the narrator, like, doesn't trust him, and it's really weird. Because, he's working for, if you are working with Bodhi sent him to betray you. Mm-hmm. If you're working with the Shadow Thieves, she planted him, like, she is one of Bodhi's men.
Yes. Yeah. So he drops you off, and we are now at Brynlaw, which is the city/pirate kingdom that sits on the same island that Spellhold does.
Yep, that's they split it on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's Pirate Town. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, it's for Spellhold, and on Sunday, that is the Lord's Day.
Well, yeah, also football.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pirate football. The Spellhold Pirates. So you show up on this pirate isle. The trip has no incident on the way there.
Right.
And you he says, like, you talk to Saman. Saman says, hey, go to the Vulgar Monkey Tavern. That's actually where we're going to go. Like, that's where you do things next.
Right. Your contact there is a man named Sanic, something like that.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to give you information, but an assassin from somebody named Lady Galvina arrives to kill him for stealing a slave from her. In fact, it was his wife, and Lady Galvina is a madam at the local prostitute.
And actually, I'm sorry, I skipped over something. Our paths are still a little bit divergent here because Saman actually betrays you here.
Oh, really?
So it's a little bit different. When you get off the boat, he sends you towards that tavern again, but vampires pop out.
Ooh.
And Saman, he's like, oh, we knew you were a monster. Saman escapes. We're still going to use him later.
Yes.
But he was hired to drop you off here, and there's a little vampire ambush. And after you kill him, this guy named Simic shows up and says, hey, go check out Sanic. Come on, guys. Creative writers, don't do that. Here's a creative writing 101 lesson for everybody listening.
Yep.
Don't make your characters have similar names. It says to go to the Vulgar Monkey.
Right.
So that doesn't happen if you side with Bodhi. So I didn't realize there was still that divergence. But,
yeah. Huh.
No.
Yeah, I would have thought everything would have been the same when you got to Brynlaw. But yeah, Lady Galvina, she runs the local courtesan guild, which seems like a really good, a potent euphemism, let's say, especially if people are oppressed into service. She says, hey, Claire, Cynic's wife, might know what he knew, especially if they were in cahoots and he was working to get her out of the life, right? Mm-hmm. So we have an option to either get him by force or pretend to be a customer.
Yeah. And so what I did was pretend to be a customer.
Same.
They give you these amulets that the people there wear, the enforcers or what have you. Something glitched and they saw through my thing.
Oh,
like more or less right away. So I ended up just killing everybody, but I was fine with it because they're slavers.
Yeah,
they're just sex slavers. Yeah, that doesn't make them better slavers.
No,
I think it's arguably worse slavers.
Yeah, pretty much.
So they all had to die.
Yes,
and I was going to kill them anyway. It just happened sooner than I thought.
Same. Yeah. But what ends up happening, like if you're just like straight with these courtesans and say, yeah, we're here to rescue your friend A, and if we can do anything to stop the person who is pressing you into service, then we're going to do that as well, and they just agree to help you. So
because they don't care for it.
No. So they help you poison the ale for the guard so you can get in and get a shot at Lady Galvina.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. On your way, there's some kind of like little side stories as well. We run into this woman named Genia who was forced into prostitution by a pirate named Chermy. Her father died, and Chermy Greer over here.
I don't know that Jeremy deserves that.
Yeah. I don't know that he doesn't.
Okay.
And so she wants to get out, and you can pay this smuggler to take her and her brother away. Mm-hmm. And then there's Chermy gets mad about this. You can go kill Chermy. So again, I'm just going on my abolitionist streak.
Same.
Here in general.
Yeah. And it's nice, like, if you do abolitionist stuff, like, even Corgan is on board with you. Like, people need to take pride in their work. They shouldn't be forced into it. Like, what you're doing is terrible. So, you get the axe. Like, fuck yeah, Corgan.
Yep. Go Corgan.
And don't make people do stuff.
You're actually cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I end up, dosing the guards and getting in and killing Galvina and her pet wizard. They had to give her a pet wizard. Just because that would be it would be too easy to fight without a mage there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Claire is devastated to hear that Sinique is dead, but she's willing to help you.
Yep. And she takes you to Sinique's captain, Golan, there. This is all a little bit rounded out. What we're trying to do is just find a way into Spellhold. I don't know if we established that. So that is why we had to get into the Courtesans Guild. I think we maybe skipped a step. Or I might have skipped ahead when I realized that the Bodhi path still diverged and got excited. But that's why we're doing this.
Right.
To get in there. And it's just kind of, it's a chain. Like you talk to one person, that person's dead. You talk to that person's girlfriend who leads you to that person's contact. Yeah. And it's just kind of like a chain. Like it's all very minor. This part, you don't spend very much time in Brynlaw.
It's kind of ridiculous that they made a whole city for that.
Yeah. And you can resupply, and there are fun pirates. Who all of them are singing the same song line by line. So if you talk to different people, they'll sing their different songs and stuff. It has a lot of character, but it's very brief.
Yes.
When you talk to Golan, he says, listen, there are two types of people who can dispel hold: cowled wizards or deviants. So you have a couple different things you can do. It's good that we diverged here too.
Yeah.
Because we did a different thing. I went in to, there's a cowled wizard who I think you threatened him to get in, which was what I did. That's one option, is to go in through the front door.
Right.
And the other thing is to get committed. And to get committed, you have to go convince the pirate lord that you are insane. Yeah. And I didn't interact with the pirate lord really at all.
Yeah, I think you have to kill him later on, regardless. But yeah,
I snuck by. I took his horn from him while he was sleeping.
Oh
no! Then he attacks you afterwards. Okay. But yeah, you almost don't have to kill him.
Yeah. So talk about going with that cowled wizard, because it's super neat. He's dominated, right? Like Irenicus is assuming direct control.
Yeah. When you go into it, he's all like slurring his speech, and he's like, "I knew you were going to be here. This is a test." Like Irenicus even knows you're following him. He's not an idiot, right? So like you go. His name is Perth. You go into his house. He's not very coherent. You can tell that he's charmed. One of your party members says he's charmed, and you get into a wizard fight. And he has some kind of neat gear on him. You get the ward stone for the asylum, so you can walk in, which is the main thing we want. He has a magical item that I think is kind of neat called the Book of Infinite Spells. And what that is it starts as a spell that you can use once per day for free, and then you can turn the page. But once you turn the page, that page dissolves. And then you get another spell. So you can keep trying for better spells, but eventually you'll get to the last page of the book, and you won't be able to do it anymore. So the last page of the book, I kept choosing what was in the mystery box. Eventually it turns into invisibility. Invisibility once per day is not bad, but there's lots of rings and stuff to do that.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, and that's how you go into the front entrance. You walk into Spellhold there. There's kind of some monsters hanging around in the grounds just to make sure the player doesn't fall asleep, apparently. And once inside, you run into this character named the Coordinator, who has a slightly familiar voice. He takes you on a tour of the Spellhold. So you go through and you meet all of the inmates, which is really fun. Like, you keep saying, like, hey, I'm here for Inowin. And he just says, you know, all in good time in his Irenicus voice, because of course it's Irenicus.
Of course.
You eventually talk to Imoen, and she is like the shadow of herself.
Well, her soul has been ripped from her.
Her soul has been ripped off, yeah, which we'll find out soon. It's fun when you are meeting the different denizens of Spellhold, because you're running into Tiax, who was a standout character, like really annoying character from Baldur's Gate 1, who got committed, which makes sense for him to be committed. And a noteworthy thing here is that after you talk to Imoen, and she is this soul husk, the Coordinator reveals he's Irenicus. If you have Yoshimo in your party, he betrays you.
Yep.
Yep. He like takes over for you. So that is a long con.
Extremely long. It should have been very
you found in the dungeon, who was like a solid dude and a good dude for 40 hours of content, turns on your party.
Yeah, and he gives you the whole, like, I didn't have a choice, et cetera kind of thing, and you know, there's really no way to, like, there's no way to be, like, super forgiving of him. I definitely took the tack of, like, that's what everybody says. Like, fuck you, traitor. And my entire party was like that as well.
People are really upset about it, and it's not his fault.
No, he's under
he was geezed. Yeah, he's gayest. And there actually is a resolution. I didn't do this time because I didn't take him with me, but you can take his heart and purify it at a temple. Yeah. Once you get back to the city, and it is one of the biggest XP gains in the game.
Yes.
Like, releasing his soul from that is one of the greatest acts of good you can do.
Yeah, I absolutely did that. Like before he was Geist and worked with Irenicus, he was a worshiper of Ilmater, which is Forgotten Realms Jesus. Like, yeah. He was not a bad person by any stretch.
No, he's a really good person. Yeah. He just, Irenicus is a monster.
Yeah.
So then some stuff happens in Spellhold, but I want to talk about the other path of getting in first before we say the kind of big climax thing that happens to you.
Right.
After Yoshima reveals himself.
Yeah. So I went the route where to convince them that I was a deviant. And the Pirate Lord is the person who, for some reason, has jurisdiction over that.
I think he would just turn you into the Cowled Wizards.
Maybe.
I don't think he has jurisdiction, because the Cowled Wizards obviously decide it in the city and send deviants there. But I think the idea is this is his island, and he will take crazy wizards and put them in, say, hey, you deal with it.
Right,
neighbor.
Right. Yeah.
He tosses you over the fence.
So I think that I took the shortcut to this, because, you go in and say, hey, I'm a mage. I am worried that I'm a danger to myself and others. Please, I need you to commit me, just taking the reasonable tack. And he kind of sees right through it, or doesn't want to be bothered. Like, why in the world should I believe you, etc. And the way that I got around this was, I said, look at who I travel with. Hey, Minsk, can you back me up here? And, like, one of them, like, Yoshimo even says, come on, man, don't have Minx talk to him. Like, no, let him talk. And so Minx does his whole, miniature giant space hamster thing. And
him being so fucking obnoxious for the entire game has finally paid off.
Yep.
So...
Yeah, I mean, he pays off statistically. He is a really solid frontline fighter. But also here, he was my key to get this Pirate Lord to go from you're faking it to would you like to go back on your own, or do you want to be dragged kicking and screaming?
Kicking and screaming, please.
Yeah. No. So that's very funny. And you end up put into a cell. Presided over by kind of the not the warden, but the supervisor, Lonk the Sane, which is fun that he has to have that name to convince everybody. And you go and you get time to talk with the other with the other inmates. The notable one is the person who sees all planes at the same time.
Oh yeah. There's a couple different interesting ones. I mentioned Tiax.
Yes.
But there's also this person who sees into the planes. There's somebody who definitely like straight up Lovecraftian, like saw into a dark dimension, like found the thing that looks back.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially looked in the void and was stared back.
Yeah. Well, one of them, I forget who mentions like the city of shifting streets presided over by the Lady of Pain.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Little torment Easter egg there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great that this is so like it is 2E, but it is so late in the timeline that they're just like, yeah, like fuck it, every campaign setting is the same. So,
yeah, it all exists.
Yeah,
and there's always been stuff in D&D, to be able to switch campaign settings, like the Mist of Ravenloft, or structure of that. Like you've always been able to swap.
Mm-hmm.
God, I wish there was a Ravenloft Infinity Engine game. God damn it. It'd be very cool.
Yeah.
So essentially the same, very similar things happen here, regardless whether you're a prisoner or not.
Yeah.
And
for me, it was just a matter of time before Irenicus just teleported in and said, "Hey, I guess we should probably get down to business." That's when Yoshimo turns on me, and we do the whole "I spit on your name" kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. If you're getting the tour and this happens, he just kind of like. Some guys warp in and kind of spell you into being. You have to be knocked out.
Yeah,
it is a railroad EDM thing because Bodhi and her guild. The reason why they're recruiting shadow thieves is as human sacrifices.
Yeah, I'm gonna put them up in jars.
Yep, you go down to this jar room and you get a lot of exposition here.
Yes.
Irenicus says the reason why I was interested in Imoen, is because Imoen is also a ball spawn.
That couldn't be. That's impossible.
But it's true.
Yeah.
And that was retconned. She was not intended to be when in Baldur's Gate 1.
She was barely intended to be a character in Baldur's Gate 1.
Well, she's with you from the start. She's the character that you have with you. So she's like a sidekick character, but she was never intended to be as popular as she was. There was no place for in her she's so purely good. So she didn't show any sign. So he had to bring that out by torturing her.
Right.
Like essentially into being evil enough for the shadow of Ball to like take over a little bit.
Right.
So he sucked out her soul and put it in Bodhi, and now he's going to suck out your soul and put it in him.
Right.
And he's extremely confident during this whole thing. He's just like, yeah, it sucks. I've not had a soul for a while. It's not good. You're going to die. It just takes a little while for your body to catch up.
Yeah.
See ya. And then all the shadow thieves in the jars die. Their souls fly out, and you go into a dream sequence.
Yes. So we didn't really comment on this, but throughout chapter 2, especially early on, if you rested, you had a chance to have these dreams where Imoen was kind of talking with you, or where you were confronting Irenicus. Like he was trying to do the whole, it's great to be evil, come join me kind of deal. And like these dreams, I believe, took place in Baldur's Gate 1 areas.
Oftentimes, like almost all of them are in Candlekeep.
Yeah.
The Candlekeep is where you were raised. It's where your ward was. It's the very first area in Baldur's Gate 1.
Right. But yeah, you're pulled into this. Imoen is here, and she's speaking very weakly, saying like, hey, don't fight me. Just come and find me within. And to get in, you have to pay this demon one of your stats to get inside.
Yeah. You have to pay a troll toll, so he'll suck out a stat. You can just choose which one. This is actually pretty painless. It seems really significant because it's a permanent, thing, but you can choose which stat depending on your class you want to give up.
Yeah.
And you go in, and Imoen says like, "Hey, try to get Ball close to me. He doesn't think we're going to fight together. You can't face him alone."
Right.
Ball pops up and starts chasing you around. As this form that will become very familiar. You can hurt it, but you can't do its last hit point of damage until you actually bring it in. You make it chase you into Candlekeep next to Imoen, who is able to zap it, and then you're able to kill it.
Right.
And when that happens, they both fade away.
Right. And back in Spellhold, back IRL, you have been drained of all of your Ball powers because your soul has been taken from you.
Yes. That was what was going on in a metaphorical sense.
Right.
Now.
So if you were using that sweet free slow poison spell that you got for having your blood, well, that's gone now. Yeah. But otherwise, the big deal is narrative. Like a huge piece of you has been taken.
So you're going to die. They don't, because of like James Bond reasons.
Right.
He doesn't kill you. That'd be the smart thing to do, is wrap up this loose end. But instead, tells Bodhi to do it. And Bodhi is a vampire and a sadist.
Yes.
And she says, like, instead of doing that, I'm going to run you. There used to be this test, like, to determine if a mage was sane enough. They put them through this murder dungeon.
Yep.
I'm going to run you through this murder dungeon, and I'm going to stalk you the entire time. That got cut. That had to be patched back in. If you do a patch version of Baldur's Gate 2, she will stalk you.
Oh, Jesus.
During it. And it's actually, like, it's really random when she shows up, which always sounded kind of cool. And you couldn't kill her. You could just fight her off.
Right.
You know? But that was actually, that's just an empty threat in the actual game. I don't know if that was a glitch or something they cut for release, but as an empty threat.
Yeah. Well, she even says it basically I'm going to count to 10, then I'm coming after you.
Yeah.
And
it just never happens.
But this is a very big and complicated dungeon, even without that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're doing the Spellhold Maze, which is the major part of this chapter, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
You know, Brynlaw was not very much. The rest of it was narrative. Now we're in a big, cool, prestige dungeon. Yeah.
So the main gate that we see is right by where we spawn in. It's a gigantic statue of a head that says, "Hey, only the builder may pass."
Yeah. And we explore this maze and start kind of working our way through the puzzles. In one corner of the maze, we find this guy named Dace Santon, who is the builder, and he wants to fight.
Right.
Fight with you. He's apparently the builder. And he says that there are these crystals that power the magic of this door. They've been scattered. So you have to find them, and they're being worshipped by kobolds. Kobolds found them.
Yes.
Because they have kind of hermit crabbed into this dungeon.
as they do.
Yep.
Yeah. And Dace is a lich. So this is another story mandatory lich fight.
Lich fight. Yep. Yeah. When you kill him, you take his hand, or you stake his body, you take his hand. You still need to get those gems, though.
Right. Yeah.
So you kind of head out. And this is where it's kind of late in the game, but they give you your bag of holding, which is awesome.
Love it.
Because you will have collected a lot of, like, kind of just ward stones and plot shit you don't want to get rid of.
Right.
Situational armor, things like that.
It's especially good for them to give it to you now, especially when you do not have ready access to merchants and things like that. So, like, it just, like, this was just the black hole where all of my loot went to be sorted out later when I got back to Athkatla.
There's also, I mean, we forgot to talk about this, but Imowen kind of snaps out of her trance at the beginning of this. And the idea is that she will take, because she has enough adequate thieving skills, that she'll take over for Yoshimo.
Right.
At this point. What's kind of funny is if I just had a full party, I was like, nope, sorry, baby. Like, you don't get to join me. And she does not like it.
No.
It is a really, really, like, crushing thing to be like, we rescued you, but you can't hang out with us.
What? Come on.
I don't trust you in a fight. And she's just like, really? Like, it's very funny. And I was like, no, yeah, I got Jan. I don't need you. And she's like, well, I'll try to make my way back to town. Like, I'll be on the inn if you need me. Yeah. And then she just goes and waits to the end like a common, as if she's what's her head, as if she's Nalia.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
I really want to see like the second story or the other story. Separate ways. There we go.
Yeah.
And getting back to the Coppercorn.
Yeah, just swimming. It's pretty harsh. Like, and having her with story purposes made a lot of sense. I just didn't have a place for her in my party.
Right.
It was into my party. But what's kind of interesting is if you take her with you, it doesn't happen in this game, but in the next game, in Throne of Ball, she starts developing ball spawn powers really slowly.
Oh.
And they're not super fancy or anything, but she starts getting the the slow poisons and stuff like that.
Nice.
Which she hadn't had because she's finally awakened that part of her soul.
Yeah.
And it's so far beyond being useful in Throne of Ball. It's just a cool little touch.
Yeah. That's good. It's good for her development.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like, so there's like little stuff that we're skipping over in this too, like in the dungeon, like there's a book that summons in, increasingly difficult, monsters, things like that. A big part of this is riddles, and they're like super basic riddles. Like, I am full of holes, but if you put water in me, I'll hold it. Like a sponge.
Yep. And multiple choice is what kills these riddles.
Yeah.
Like they would maybe be tough if they weren't multiple choice.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them. There's a couple of different riddle constructs.
Yeah.
Here, like I'm always down for riddles in these kind of games, but they would lean on it maybe a little bit more than they should.
Yeah.
There's like a weird room with these those weird pillars that cast different spells on you.
Oh yeah.
So it's like the idea is supposed to give you a way to heal your whole party without resting, and I think that is a leftover from when Bodhi was stalking you.
Okay.
I think that originally when Bodhi, she would have interrupted rests every time you rested. God. So you need to have this room to kind of make up for that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. There's a second level. After if you have gotten the hand of the builder and opened up the path forward, like there are a bunch of doorways that are guarded by paintings. Paintings of tough monsters. So like you will fight an Illithid here. You will fight an Umber Hulk. And this opens up a door to a vending machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a weird, just little, and it's all like acceptable under the guise of this being a test.
Yes. Yeah.
Like this is a little theme parky because it's supposed to be theme parky.
Yes.
Like this was for Wizards to do. So you've been collecting these mithril tokens as you walk around. And you can then take those in the vending machine and get different items. This is kind of a trap because the highest ticket item that you have to get all the tokens for is not the best item.
No.
It's this Jester's Mail that is good, but you probably have stuff that outpaces it. And what you actually want is the second best item, which is Boots of Speed.
Yes. I love those things.
Yeah. They give 1%, and it doesn't actually give them haste. It gives them enhanced walking speed.
Yeah.
So that person can be your person to run around and do your chatting and stuff and have that happen really quick.
Yeah.
Eventually you can get, I think this might be the second pair you can get. You eventually can definitely get 2 pairs of them.
Oh, nice.
So you can have your 2 best fighters walk around and be kind of like a little thug crew to clear out the riffraff.
Nice. Yeah. The after team, the cleanup crew. Yeah. So eventually you encounter Bodhi in this room with the gigantic Minotaur statue because, of course, it's a maze, right? It's going to have to do it. And she says, like, hey, I can't wait any longer to kill you. Like, just try and stop me. So we end up trying to fight her. But during this fight, she doesn't do it. My main character turns into a monster. Baal's essence has found my weakness from having most of my soul taken away and filled the void, turning me into the Slayer, kind of the most potent avatar of Baal.
Yes, so you turn into this avatar of this god, and it is this little like critter.
It's incredibly hideous, awful looking.
Yeah, it's too wiry.
Yeah,
it needs to be fatter.
Yes,
like I think the Slayer would look a lot cooler if it was fatter. It's like I'm the Slayer's Mima. I just want the Slayer to get a good meal. The Slayer looks thin.
A touch of the osteoporosis.
Yeah, I just want. But you can turn into the Slayer, and you don't have control over the Slayer.
Right.
And the Slayer will fight your party members. And your party members freak the fuck out.
Yes.
Like this fights off Bodhi. She doesn't die. And everyone has a comment on this. Like, well, this is pretty fucked up, man. We didn't care for that. And if you have a love interest, they really have a problem with it.
Yes.
And there'll be a unique cutscene next time you rest where they're trying to wake you up. You're having a nightmare and you turn into the Slayer and try to kill them.
Yep.
And you don't control over your character. You control your companion because they're still in your party. And you just have to make them run from you.
Yes.
This was the game. This was my first hint. I mentioned it later, but the game insisting, no matter how many times I told Animan no, that I was involved in a romance with Animan. Because this happened with Animan. I'm like,
come on.
I keep saying no. And it happened later too, and it's fucking amazing to me. Yeah. But so Animan was like, my dear, would you like to marry me? Perhaps we should get married. Have you considered marriage? Like he always does. And then I turned into the Slayer, and I should have just allowed the Slayer to fucking eat him.
It'd be a fun little parable. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, listen, no means God fucking damn no, Animan. Like, but yeah, it's pretty fucked up. And then you, eventually, through this comes later, we can comment, but you get the ability to turn into the Slayer.
Yes.
Which is real powerful.
Incredibly powerful, but it will ding your reputation by 2.
Yep. Which is huge. And if you stay as the Slayer long enough, you die.
Yes.
So it's this like crazy, emergency kill button.
Yeah.
That you can do. I managed to get through, since I was playing good and I wanted to maintain that reputation, I managed to not willfully turn into the Slayer at any point during this playthrough. In the past, I've had to fight the M boss.
Yeah.
I've had to Slayer up.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough not to have to do it. So.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's cool that it's an option.
Yes.
And it's cool to give the player this kind of power, and it replaces another set of powers. Like, I'm really, as much as it's like an ugly creature, I'm really into everything about the Slayer.
Yes.
I think it is a really cool thing that, regardless what alignment you're playing, that this, like, you can forcibly and also willfully turn into this avatar of this god.
Yeah.
It's like empowering and cool.
And we're right on the edge of like getting into some really, really high level D&D stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, at least if you consider 15 to 20 high level. Now we're going to go to the fucking Underdark. Like having the ability to have a panic button like that doesn't just involve reloading after an encounter goes bad. Like that seems like incredibly good design to me.
The Slayer's immune to all kinds of shit too.
Yeah.
The Slayer can like more or less solo the Mind Flayer and Beholder dungeons because those tricks don't work on the Slayer.
No.
The Slayer is an avatar of Baal.
Yeah.
Baal is the god, like Lord of Murder. That's not how that works, you know?
So, you are now the Slayer. It takes time for voluntary transformation to like work its way in. Like for me,
it's a plot thing that happens. Yeah.
However, you know, we found these Minotaur horns. You can place them on the statue. It opens the way forward, which is the final test, which is what was all this other bullshit? If you're just going to have me answer some more riddles.
Yep. The final questions are worth 100 points. Every question up until this point has been worth 2. You get there and there are these ghosts of these wizards that test you with these riddles and such. All pretty standard. Again, they're leaning on the riddle button too hard here. Yeah. Like I still like Spellhold a lot, but it's, you know, and it's just been a little while since we've done a prestige dungeon. Like the vampire dungeon is like just a combat dungeon, a thief dungeon. So it's cool to do a riddly Dungeons & Dragons ass dungeon here.
Yeah. And let's take a step back and just talk about an asylum for insane wizards. Yeah, please.
Yeah. And they're cool. Like they're cool, insane wizards. Like we mentioned a couple of them, but they all have different kind of angles on this.
Yeah.
You know, and just the fact that it's like crumbling and the last caretaker was committed, you know, to it and stuff like that's just neat.
Yes.
Like Spellhold is just very cool. It feels like we only get really a glimpse of it, you know, but like a game could be made with the more of this like cowled wizards and Spellhold stuff.
Yeah.
Like it does not end up being, it fades in the background immediately after this.
Right.
It is not important to the end game or the bigger cosmology of the game, but it is really interesting.
Yeah.
So when you finish this, you go upstairs into Spellhold. Seaman shows up, and he had betrayed me. So I could be like, listen, you bastard. And he said, like, listen, yeah, I was paid to do a job, and I did it. But I don't want to get stuck on this island either. You know, let's you know, I'll give you some advice. And you know, it's a little bit suspect to take it, but you do take it because he is a mercenary character.
Right.
And he says you're going to need some help if you want to fight Irenicus. He's at like the height of his powers right now.
Yeah. If you walk in there, you're going to die.
Yep. And you do. Like you can't fight him. Like if you walk in, you get a plot death.
Yes. So you can go back upstairs, into kind of the admin area. You can dig around and find Irenicus's diary to learn more about his motivations and his plans. He really seems to have something against the elves.
Yep. He hates elves.
Yes. But a lot of the stuff that is in here, we already surmised. He and Bodhi are brother and sister. You know, he was trying to get souls, et cetera, et cetera. What you primarily appear to do is to convince these inmates to help you out.
So you go to the different inmates and you talk to them and you get this little council to convince them to fight back.
Yes.
Essentially like, hey, you guys are very powerful. You guys can do this. And then you roll into Irenicus with them. And this is your first Irenicus fight. Like there'll be several.
Yeah. This is fucking difficult. Oh my God, Gary.
Yeah. He's not fucking around. Like he's the end boss, you know, like you're fighting the end boss early. He brings in clones of all your characters to come in. I think this is where he does that. That happens later.
This is actually where he does that. They don't have their gear, but they absolutely have their stats and also like
their spells.
Their spells. A real big problem.
Yep. So it's a multiple wizard duel.
Yeah.
Here, and it's just really tricky. Like you have those mages with you, like you have allies as well, and it just becomes this very like big chaotic battle. But he's by far the toughest mage we fought so far. Like he's a time stop mage.
Yes. But you have a time stop mage on your side. So.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Who will cast time stop for you and kind of preview that spell because that's like a really baller 9th level spell.
Yeah.
You could have seen it before if you fought liches. In the city, but those are all optional liches.
Yes.
And I don't think the mandatory liches you fought so far are that tough.
I don't think so.
What time stop essentially does is freeze time and let that person cast a bunch of spells.
Right.
And they're always going to fucking cast like Wail of the Banshee and Power Word Kill and stuff like that. And then a lot of times the time stop would just wake up and both my, Aerie and Jan, my 2 mages, would wake up dead.
Yes.
And he's like, well, fuck, like, God damn it. You want to interrupt that if you can.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So before you can defeat him, of course, he warps away. He says, before I am done, my home will feel my wrath. So we get a little bit more of this. And then this is where Yoshimo shows up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I didn't do this. Remind me how this articulates.
Yeah. So Yoshimo shows up basically with his group of murderers to finish the job, right?
Capital M murderers. The murderers just showed up for me.
Okay.
I just had just the Jets without Benny.
Discount tickets if it's just the Jets.
Just the Jets.
Yeah. He shows up saying like, hey, you're already dead. You're already dead inside. Your body is just going to catch up. This Geas is put in place to destroy my physical shell, so I cannot go and chase after Irenicus. So, and before he fights, he says, "Hey, I need you. I hope that my heart will eventually find redemption with Ilmater." So you fight him, and he has stealth. He is always going for those backstabs, and he's got these murderers who are kind of doing the same. Hot on the heels of this Irenicus fight where most of my mage help had already passed. This was like, it would not necessarily have been a difficult fight on its own. In sequence, it was extra difficult. Yeah.
You don't get a rest between them. You can actually leave. There's a way to do it. You can leave and lock the door behind you. According to online, because it's a very common thing, is that fight being very difficult.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of game it if you want to rest in between. Without Yoshimo, that's actually not that bad.
No.
Just the murderers are not too tough.
Is it?
I can imagine Yoshimo making a big difference.
Why was it that Yoshimo didn't take place in the fight with you? Is it because you didn't have him in your party, or?
Yeah, he was back at the inn.
Oh, huh.
He's chilling. I just let him live out the rest of his life as a, as a barfly.
Oh, well, damn. Regardless, I kill him, and I'm able to take his heart, and we can talk about what happens when you take him, when you go to the Temple of Ilmater, probably next episode. Yeah.
So, at this point, there is a portal, and you can take that portal. That's the portal that Irenicus used to get out. Seaman mentions this. He says, you can do that. He says, Irenicus is eventually, he's taking that portal to go continue his plans. His ultimate destination is to go to the city Sildanesselar.
Sildanesselar.
That's what I said. I just said slowly. In the forest of Tathir. Because he wants to become even more powerful than gods.
Irenicus, you seem like a real smart guy. Why can't you be more original?
Yeah, it's real weird because he's kind of portrayed as somewhat of a tragic character later, but his initial, he was a shithead initially.
Right.
He got worse, but he was not good in the first place.
All of the bad stuff that happened to him was his own fault. Yeah. Notwithstanding the fact that Elven society is fucking broken and terrible anyway.
Well, that's the thing, right? Yeah. That's the only kind of takeaway from it. Yeah. And you get the sense of somebody who just kind of started doing evil and couldn't not.
Right.
In for a penny, in for a pound. I've already done all this stuff.
Yeah.
I may as well stick with it. And that's a sympathetic position to me.
Yeah.
That's an interesting kind of sympathetic place to be. You don't want to, kind of interestingly here, though, you can just pop into his portal, and that's what most people, I think, would probably do.
Right. Because the other option is to trust Saman.
Exactly. It's kind of weird for them to hide this. So.
Yeah. So we're going to trust Saman because that is it's the way you get more content, and also it's kind of neat.
And you get treasure. A neat thing happens, and it's mostly so you can get gear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to get off of Brynlaw, we have to work with Saman, meet him at the Vulgar Monkey. He said, hey, my ship has been scuttled, so we got to do some old Grand Theft schooner from the Pirate Lord.
Yeah. We got to take the ship, and we got to take the horn that signals, able for people can leave.
Yeah, open the harbor gates.
The leaving horn. Yeah, open the gates. So you find out the Pirate Lord's got a mistress. You can go at night and steal the horn from inside. If you wake them up, then it starts this fight early. Otherwise, you can kind of sneak in. The Pirate Lord's mistress is sleeping with somebody else. The Pirate Lord isn't here.
Yeah, you catch her in flagrante. So.
Yep. And you can kind of do that. So you have to sneak to do it, but you can sneak, pick up the horn, and leave.
Mm-hmm.
But then the pirate lord finds you as you're about to leave.
Yes.
And murders his mistress for cheating on him and losing the harp. And then you have to fight a bunch of pirates on your way out. And Seaman, because he is just like a scumbag, top to bottom, is like, listen, thank you for forgiving me. Have this silver sword.
I have this wonderful, it's not complete, it's just a blade. You can probably do some wonderful things with it. Have this gleaming, shiny silver sword.
And you're like, great, I love silver swords. However, as you're leaving, there's this little interstitial with Seaman, and Seaman's been acting strange. He stays below decks, like he's hiding. You see this ship in the distance that's coming right towards you.
Uh-huh.
It turns out these are the Githyanki.
They want their sword back.
Yeah, and immediately he says, hey, I don't have it, but you might want to search those guys. And like, excuse me? You have 2 seconds here when this fight happens, because this fight is a story fight. It's going to get interrupted. You can kill Seaman. He's not hostile. You can kill Seaman right away. And I was like, yes, that guy's got to die.
You piece of shit.
Yep, Seaman got to go.
Yeah.
So I killed him immediately.
It's also pretty funny that there's it would have been very funny if there was an option to just throw the silver blade overboard.
That would have been very funny.
Say, do you understand what kind of problems that would create for us?
Oh yeah, that would be very rough for the and essentially what happens because as you're being attacked, the ship begins to take water, and Sahuagin actually board the ship here. They're taking advantage of the fact that you've like kind of stayed during or like paused, stopped moving in these rough seas above their domain. And this introduces us. We wake up in the Sahuagin city, which is a totally optional little miniature zone.
Yeah.
Here.
And it's pretty neat. You wake up and you're not able to understand the language. They're speaking in glibs and globs and gill flaps and what have you. Yeah. And they cast a translate spell on us, and it's still really hard to tell who or what they're talking about because A, Sahagins suck, and B, every single name has just filled with a bunch of X's.
There are a lot of X's.
Yeah, a lot of X's. They really took advantage of the discounted X's down at the old name warehouse. But yeah, like you are told to report to King Ixothetical.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Senior. Capital. So he wants to see you. You go there, and this is kind of like a comedy section. Like this feels like they're kind of lightening things up between two very dark zones, because he has two different advisors, one of which is saying that you are the prophesized heroes who are going to save their city from destruction. And the other one is just talking about eating you. And he's just like, ha, 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 ha. They would be tasty. He's just doing comedy evil king shit. So they say, like, we'll test them first. They make you fight an Etten. It's like the only Etten in the game.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They had this Etten model.
Very lovingly rendered.
Yeah, I mean, they had he's from the first game. I think you fight Ettins in the first game at a time. Yeah. So they brought an Etten back. You fight the Etten, and they convince you. They say, like, okay, to his evil advisor, the evil advisor's like, you cannot believe these guys are the prophets. He's like, well, nope, they won the thing. That was the bet. You get to go get thrown to the pit now. And send him to the pit. The high priestess, like the king is saying, like, if you want to escape, I'm going to give you a bunch of treasures. You have to kill this rebel.
Yes.
This prince has rebelled against me.
Yes. Bring me his heart is what he says. The high priestess says, hey, the king is insane. He has exiled basically anybody who could be a threat to him. And it's to the point where like, it's a population problem. Like it is thinning the blood. So she wants to bring the rebels back into the city so that they can survive. And it's the choice seems
like their numbers are dwindling. Like they need more genetic stock.
Yes.
And that's like presented as the good ending, but letting this evil, and your characters, if you have good characters, they'll even say this, like, we're not going to help these guys. Like they're monsters. They're explicitly evil,
Yeah. Like, and also the rebel prince, his name is Villy Natty.
It's really nasty. So he's considered the good ending, but it's not really good.
No, he is similarly deranged. Like
there's no like ending slide for it, but you can actually kill them both and still get the reward. Like you just go and fight them. Like, and that's what I did, ensuring hopefully that the culture would crumble.
Yes.
The game doesn't allow for this, but in my head canon, that's what I did.
Yeah.
So you head over towards the rebels. to actually get in that. And there's an important encounter. You get ambushed by a group of them, and one of them has the cloak of deflection, which is one of those like high level D&D items, and you really want that.
You absolutely do.
That alone is a reason to come here because it makes all spells bounce off of you.
Yeah. Like, why would
crazy.
you not get that? Come on.
Yeah, that's extremely good. And that's since I forgot to buy the Beholder deflecting shield, that is how I'm going to deal with the Beholders in the next section.
Yes. Yeah, it is a very good cloak. I gave it to I gave that and the Mace of Disruption to Viconia, actually. And she was just unstoppable, which is good.
Yep.
Yeah. Along with the Belt of Constitution.
Big deal. What she needs.
Yeah. So in order to get to where the rebels are, you need this treasure that a drow wizard has hidden away, the Ancient King's Tooth. So you have to go to this abandoned drow wizard tower and play some riddle games with an imp. With these imps who summon in famous people from the Forgotten Realm setting, and you have to match up their belongings with them. So it's like Elminster's pipe, Driss scimitars, etc.
Yep. Just kind of fun, and just kind of fun to see those characters if you have affection for them.
Yes.
The real highlight there is after you do that, and the imps are, again, this is a comedy section of the game, right? The real thing you want here is you head up and you see a beholder floating there, but he's not hostile. This is our boy, for fans of Monster My Podcast, the Spectator.
I love the Spectator so much.
The unit that can create food and water for up to 12 people once per day. The party orb.
Yeah, the original party boy.
Yeah, the party boy, the pony keg, what floats like a man.
Yeah,
that you can just have as your party companion. And you rent out a Spectator, and he just creates libations and tells jokes and keeps people out of the bedroom.
Yep.
Which is what you want at a party.
Yep.
You know?
Or, I need you to protect this pontoon boat and make sure that the keg never runs out.
Yeah. And he salutes with all of his eyes on one side. I.
So he's the best written NPC in the game. Because he's not really he doesn't speak villainously like a beholder would. These are neutral boys, right? He's very, it's a living, to the point where I can't believe I've been sitting here with no food or water next to these imps and a mad fish king. Is this hell?
Yep. Yeah. He's very matter of fact. And there's this great, you can just do a lot of shtick. Yeah. With this guy. There's a great thing where you're cause you want to get inside the chest that he's guarding, and you can say, hey, can I really got to get in there. And he's like, well, you don't even know what it is. And you're like, no, I mean, I think, and he's like, listen, just because a beholder's guarding it doesn't mean it's good.
Everybody comes and says, a beholder's watching that, so I gotta have it.
It must be awesome, but maybe it's not. He's really great.
Yeah.
And eventually you convince him to let you look at it. And then once you see what's in it, then he doesn't care. Right.
Well, he just kind of, you get him in a technicality. You're like, okay, are you guarding the chest or are you guarding what's in it?
Yeah.
And he says, I'm not really sure, because when the drow wizard summoned me, he was being impaled by a spear, and all he shouted was, my chest. It could go either way.
It could go either way. So you convince him, essentially that you can have the thing inside the chest. And he's like, well, there's nothing in there. I'm leaving. Nobody wants me to guard an empty chest. That's dumb. I'm out of here. It's super good.
Yeah.
He's real great. I think him and the Eyeless, the cult of the Eyeless, who are, real at the living as well.
Yeah.
I think those guys are really good. But this guy's phenomenal. So he takes off. You can talk to the prince. He offers you a fake heart. This is foreshadowing for something that's going to happen in the Underdark as well.
No.
And he's a monster. And what I do is present the fake heart to the king. The prince comes in and ambushes them. And then I kill the king. The prince gives me the key to the treasury and the magic rope, which is the thing you need to get into the Underdark. And then I kill the prince.
Right.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you resolve this, you can get a hold of the magic rope that will get you down there.
Yep, and you get you get a part of the Wave Blade. You can complete the Wave Blade now, which is a legendary halberd. It's extremely good. I think it has plus 10 or plus 20 water damage.
It's super good against elementals, I understand.
Yeah,
it is necessary for throwing a ball.
Yeah. It's a super good item. You get I think you get another piece of a legendary thing here as well.
Yeah.
Or there's a spear you can get that has a plus 10 bonus.
Yeah.
Just as plus 10. It's not plus 10 to hit, but plus 10 damage.
Yeah,
so
it's
just
plus
really,
10
really
piercing damage. You get that off of the king. That ended up being Jaheira's weapon for the rest of the game for me.
Super good. Yeah. So it's worth doing this little side thing. Then you take this magic rope, you go into the Underdark, and as we're going to the Underdark, we get a cutscene.
Yes. So Irenicus, he's being real deferential in front of this drow matron who he is working with. And in turn, he kills these two prisoners who call him Jonaleth. So
yeah, and they're like, "What is going on, Jonaleth? Like, what are you doing? Repent!" And he kills them before they can say anything.
Right.
And the matron's no fool. Like, she raises an eyebrow at this, but he covers over it.
Right.
And now you're in the Underdark.
God, I love the Underdark so much.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's extremely good. Like, this is a really awesome section of this game.
Yeah.
Ari is not happy about this. This is where she flips out and she, says, "This is essentially hell for my people.
Mm-hmm.
You dragged me into hell. What are you doing?" And I say, "Oh, my sweet, you just wait." But you have to convince her to like stay strong. But if you don't, if you are hard with her, she will continue to freak out about this, which is kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah, I have Lyconia with me, and she was like, "Okay, well, I can provide some guidance, but I am in an extreme danger here as well."
Yeah,
because I'm drow doesn't mean the wildlife and the other people here are going to be crazy about me, and also like houses kill each other, and also I have over the course of this romance that I have forsaken Lolth, and she does not tend to take that very well. So
so the stakes are pretty high here.
Yes.
Yeah. But luckily they give you a merchant because you are carrying around 1,000 pieces of treasure and stuff to sell.
Yes.
And I think they just know, like, okay, the party has their bladder full of treasure.
Yes.
So
I also love, so the primary people that you meet out in this Underdark Underworld, starring Kate Beckinsale. So you meet some Duergar and you meet some Svirfneblin, both of whom are very solid bros.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even before you get disguised as drow, they're like more than willing to like work with you.
Well, and when you get disguised as drow, they're scared of you.
Yes.
Like it's not particularly like it doesn't feel good. But when you're not disguised as the drow, like they're just like, no, we get it. We have to make a living the same. They're good folk.
Yeah.
She talked to these Duergar. The big thing you want to do, they mentioned like, you say, hey, I'm looking for some strangers. They're like, yeah, well, there's a couple strangers who are in the Drow City.
Yes.
Showing you what you need to do. The big thing you want to do is buy a scroll of freedom.
Yeah.
From these guys because it's going to be useful for a quest.
Mm-hmm.
And you, on your way, just kind of moving forward, you run into your first Drow battle. And Drow battle, Drow are different. Like they're a different classification of creature in this, and they require different tactics.
Yes.
And what's really interesting about Drow in Baldur's Gate 2 is the way they make them tough is by upping their AI.
Mm-hmm.
They're just really smart fighters. They don't have capabilities outside of just kind of D&D fighters that you fought before.
Right.
But they travel in well-balanced parties. They cast spells really intelligently. They summon.
Mm-hmm.
They will heal each other.
They have extremely good gear.
They have really, really good gear, like the best gear in the game.
Yeah.
They have the best armor, like which you can take and you can only wear when you're in the Underdark. But like Underdark, or Drow full plate plus 5.
Mm-hmm.
Is their standard kit.
Yes.
They have. So they're extremely hard to hit, but mostly it's all in their AI. Like they just cast spells really well.
Yeah.
So it's the first time you're fighting like a D&D party that is AI spec'd to be as good as yours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the standard Drow fight in this.
Yes. And
which we'll do. Yeah.
What's very funny is when you end up being disguised as Drow, you end up fighting an adventure party that has worked its way into the Underdark, and it works very similarly to fighting Drow.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. Like I love that, you get mistaken.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you head up to this Deep Gnome village, as on your way, and you can talk to their leader, Goldander. And he says he can help you get into the Drow City. You had to help us out, though. We dug too deep in the village, and we woke up something that is from the deep that's not in this world.
Right.
So you had to go slay this demon for us.
Yeah. I don't think it's a Baldur. Oh, yeah, it's a Baldur. They end up having to fight. This sucks. I wasn't ready to fight something this extra planner at this point. This ended up being pretty difficult for me.
I don't remember having too hard of a problem with it, but I also, I was spec'd for fighting big plus things.
Yeah.
So I think the big thing with the Baldur is I think it requires +4 weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the stuff that would have been very difficult for me was mitigated by getting the Holy Avenger.
Okay, yeah.
So like having a paladin with a +5 sword, like right off the bat, made it like just a big difference.
Yeah. Like later when I had the Crom Fair, it was fine, but like the only weapon that I had that hit as a +4 or above, I believe, was the Mace of Disruption. Even though it's a +2, it acts like a +5. And no matter who I gave it to, the Balor would just kind of chew through them, whether it was Viconia or Korgan.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough when only one of your characters can do any DPS.
Yeah.
So the rest of your characters have to be committed to like keeping that character alive and keeping that character buffed up.
Yeah.
Or just serving as like meat shield. This was another section too where I think summons served me really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I sent in, at this point, all of my characters had a once per day summon item.
Okay.
So I could summon an alternate party.
Nice.
Like Minsk was replaced by a Valor helmet, like a simulacrum of Minsk. And then I had an Ifrit and Moondog leading things and a Flesh Golem and Moondog.
Okay.
Moondog. And so I just had this group of 6 summons I sent in as a matter of course.
Yeah.
As like my alternate party. So having the Balor chew on those while Keldorn just hit him from behind with the Holy Avenger is what kind of took care of this for me.
Okay. Yeah. I do love when demons pop into the world in Baldur's Gate 2 because the gate, the gate is a skeleton wheel.
Yep. And you can, at this point, I can cast Gate as well. I think Animen has a 7th level spell at this point. So you can cast Protection from Evil on your whole party, which will cause demons to ignore them, and then gate in a demon to fight your enemies. Because demons fight everything. They're hostile to everything.
Yeah, I never fucked with that. Like if a spell said, and it will turn on your party, I was like, nah, there are other things I can summon. Like I can bring in a Wyvern, it's fine.
Well, eventually you can bring in like a good a Celestial.
Oh yeah.
That won't turn on your party. But being able to gate in a demon was pretty key for a couple of fights in the Underdark, specifically.
Yeah. The reason we're helping these Svirfneblin, they seem fine, but they know how to get us into the Drow City. To find these people, he needs to hook us up with Adalon, this kind of person who is who can assure us safe passage into Usnatha. Yep.
So you kill the demon. You get this light gem that'll allow you to talk to Adalon. When you go and talk to Adalon, you see that Adalon is a silver dragon. And she's pissed. So she has her kind of like her charge is to guard the surface here. Like she is supposed to be the wall that stops the Drow from invading the surface.
Right.
Here.
Because this is like Usnatha is the first outpost. Like we're right around where the Drow or the tribe that eventually became the Drow fled the surface.
Yeah. Yep. So, and up until this point, she's been successful at that. Like she has the magic and the ability to do that. But, since Irenicus showed up, they stole one of her eggs and have been holding it hostage.
Right.
So the Drow are on this campaign to expand. She can't leave her lair because if they see her, they'll kill the egg. So she says, hey, remove this bargaining chip. Get my egg. I'm going to disguise you as Drow, go undercover as Drow, which is like, if you're listening to this and that doesn't sound cool to you, I don't know you. Like, I don't understand
how you're gaming.
What are your gaming values?
I don't know.
Riddle me this. If you don't think that sounds cool as hell,
if you can get past the fact that it's kind of blackface.
Yeah, it is, but it's fantasy.
Yeah,
fantasy blackface.
No,
like the Drow are troublesome. There's like a couple there's a part because they're this intense matriarchy. There's a thing like depending on the gender of your character where you can get sexually taken advantage of and have to like talk your way out of it. That's a little spooky, but that's Drow.
Yeah, no, but like if you have any affection for Forgotten Realms, it's probably from reading the Drizzt books. Like if you are all about the Underdark and like super into like the evil Drow society, like fuck yeah, let me get in there and see how that works.
And just it's so cool for the pacing of Baldur's Gate 2 to have this like large side quest heavy section Then we have a story block, and now we have this like social section. Like you're going to be fighting during this.
Yeah.
But having to maintain this facade
Yep.
is something you have to do like actively.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
it's
like
not as simple as it seems. Like you can't just be like,
yeah, people will turn on you. Like I reloaded more in this section of the game than any other time because of accidentally like sometimes tipping my hand through dialogue, generally through and this makes sense in story. This was a game concern, but it actually makes sense in the story. One of my summons or one of my characters getting a little stab happy and attacking somebody they shouldn't have.
Oh.
You know? So like one of the things that I have that Afreet summon that I mentioned, he will cast fireballs. And if a fireball catches like a high ranking drow in it, that blows your cover.
Oh yeah,
and
okay.
So he goes on lockdown and it doesn't end the game, but you have to kill the entire city.
Right.
To get out there. So I just kept having to like I was like, okay, I can't summon during this. And that actually made sense in a story sense.
Yeah.
Like I have to maintain closer control than this. I can't actually just bring in this mercurial creature. At this point, I can't risk it. I have to be in total control. Like it's just cool. Like it is a cool segment and cool things happen during it. So that's the idea. You get disguised as drow. She says, say you come from this place called Ched Nasad. It's far enough away that no one will know.
Right. And also, I intercepted some other drow who were supposed to be here from Ched Nasad, so they're expecting you.
You get to be Chad Nasad.
Yes.
From Ched Nasad.
Yeah.
There's also a quest you can do while you're in the underworld.
Yeah.
Which we mentioned, one of the Dugar that we talked to, the merchants, mentions that there's a powerful wizard who is in prison nearby. So you grab that scroll of freedom and cast that, and that releases this guy named Vithal.
Yes. He was here. He's a mage. He was researching these thin spots, by which he means portals. Like, I don't understand. But he found this thin spot. He's trying to use his magic to jump dimensions and find these awesome mage treasures. We have to... Good.
To be charitable, you can say that they built the portals around the thin spots.
Okay, yeah.
Places where the dimensions, it didn't happen, they're just portals, and they're like, this door is a place that allows passage between rooms.
It is a permeable membrane between the hallway and the bathroom.
The realms of hallway and the, but it's the idea being, I think, that they built the portals around the thin spots. But essentially, you have to go and guard him from greater elementals.
Right. And at the end, I was not very happy with the reward he gave me, and I was kind of rolling a little bit evil. I killed him, and I got some amazing spells for it.
Yep.
Yeah, Wail of the Banshee, Time Stop, Incendiary Cloud.
Yep, real badass stuff.
Yeah.
That you're going to want. There's also a side quest here where there is a device that has beings being trapped in different facets of it.
Okay.
You can free. That is like in the middle of the map. A little bit above the myconoids.
Is that what that was? I could never interact with it, right?
You just have to be close enough to it. But there are like 6 little facets of it, and they release warriors from like across time and space for you to fight. It's similar to the thing we've done, but the thing that's kind of neat is you run into you free the mayor of the Deep Gnome Village, his son, from it, and it's kind of neat because you've been fighting everybody. He's the only non-hostile one that pops out. Just kind of a neat little side thing here. Yeah. What we ultimately want to do is go into Asnatha, where the bulk of the Underdark stuff happens.
Right. So we're greeted at the gates. Viconia does the talking. I imagine if you don't have Viconia, you have to kind of fumble your way through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get choices here and stuff, and you just have to remember what society you're dealing with.
Right.
Here. When you get in, you meet your main guy here, Solifine. And Solifine is an interesting character in this and turns out to be kind of a solid bro.
Yes.
He is at the Male Fighter Society.
Right. Is there anybody who's listening who doesn't understand how Drow Society works?
Oh, I bet you there's lots of people who are listening who don't understand how Drow Society work.
Okay.
So we should mention a little bit. Like it's a matriarchy. I mean, it's like an evil society, like survival of the fittest.
Yeah. Like you walk in and people are beating their slaves, and they're like, the turn people into half spiders if they displease them, etc.
Yeah, turn into driders. It's like this evil race of spider worshippers that they kind of twist on them as they are matriarchal, so women have all the power.
Yes.
There, and men can only raise in ranks through like swordsmanship or through fucking.
Right.
Which is a weird bark that one of the innkeeper guys says. There's a guy at the inn who says that. He's like, the only way to rise in the ranks is through the sword or through the bed. Or something like that. It's just, pretty extra.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much them.
Right.
And they live underground. They were separated from the elves a long time ago, and they're like just bad news.
Yeah.
There are tons of cities of them. They're hugely populous, and just the fact that, you know, we keep them at bay, but it's just like this menace that's underground.
Yes, like they're like probably like one of their rituals to, you know, for like to ascend to maturity is to like go out on a hunting party to the surface and kill somebody.
Yeah.
And all of them, most of them anyway, at least the power structure is centered around these houses that worship the spider goddess Lolth.
Yes.
Like a lot of Forgotten Realms deities, she is just a regular person who ascended into the pantheon, and she has this real stranglehold over the major cities, although there are kind of apostates and there are like alternate goddesses, such as the silver-haired goddess, and then the the god of slime.
Yeah, the slime boy.
Yeah,
we
slime
run into
boy.
a little.
Yeah.
We're into some slime boys, little friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Salafian, he's he gives you shit, but in general, he has this thing that a lot of Mildrow have, which is they chafe under the fact that that they are so heavily controlled, and ultimately
they're treated like shit.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it doesn't come from misogyny that he acts like that.
No.
Like he's just constantly treated like shit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So he ultimately ends up being on the side for good, even if it is not really explicit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So our first task is to kind of get our other handler.
Right.
Here. Our task is like, you know, we had to prove that you, we don't necessarily buy initially that you're from Chad and Assad. You had to prove yourself.
Right.
So to prove yourself, you had to recover the handmaiden's daughter, this kind of priestess, from some of the devourers. This is a weird or rare intelligence check in the game, because he can say, and then he says, "What do you know what I mean by devourers?" And you can say, you know, mind flayers or illithids, or you can be like the rust eaters, you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
And he respects you. And getting a respect meter with this guy actually makes a difference.
Right.
Treating him well and being good by this guy will open up options in the end game of the Underdark.
Yes.
For you.
Yeah. So, you know, this also introduces something that is really big about Usnatha, time limits.
Yeah.
The Drow are incredibly punctual.
They're the most punctual race in the Forgotten Realms, actually. So he says, like, hey, you have to get this, and they'll be very explicit about it. They'll say, like, you have 1 day, you have 3 days.
Yeah.
Where this most impacts you is resting.
Yeah.
Because if you have it set up to rest until heal, that could take a long time. So you just have to be very mindful. Yeah. You're going to rest for 16 hours, and all of a sudden you have 8 hours of in-game time to do this thing. She has to be very intentional and create lots of saves.
Yes.
During this section.
Yeah. So you have to go with him, meet him down by the gates of the Illithid city, and he casts a spell to draw this party out of the astral realm, and you end up having to fight a bunch of these Illithids, which are difficult because if they get latched onto somebody's noggin, they'll
they die.
Yes.
Like they can suck out your brain and they can drain your intelligence. So it's another class of like this kind of difficult prestige monster in this game.
Yeah.
They're a little less finicky than some of the other prestige monsters because you don't have to do very much other than be quick.
Yeah.
Like they're extremely deadly and very fast at killing you, and they have instant kill things. Right. So if you can't make somebody immune to brain suck, you just have to kill them as fast as you possibly can.
Here, and wear this +1 snapback of brain protection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they roll with Umber Hulks, and the reason why they roll with Umber Hulks is Umber Hulks are tanks, and they confuse you. They're trying to slow you down and occupy you so they can eat your brains.
Yes.
Is the way they work. So it's meaningful that you have this like kind of beginner fight with these things because you're going to, if you're being a completionist or if you choose to, there's a major dungeon of these you can fight.
Yes.
Through, and they want to give you some experience fighting them.
Right. The next task.
You rescue your other handler here.
Yeah, you do. So she doesn't even thank you. With par for the course. This is Fairy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she is, so you're going to kind of these two people are going to give you tasks and kind of spar.
Right.
For this whole time. You have to go to the tavern. When you go to the tavern, there's a great moment. He tells a story that is like a Shaggy Dog joke thing about these people who found this throne and they were maintaining it and holding it and stuff. And Jan, who I had in my party, who has been telling these stories for the entire game, immediately cuts him off and says the punchline. Like he starts going into, he's just like, there's this family and they have this grass hut and they have this throne. And Jan just immediately says, "Oh, don't steal don't stow thrones in grass houses. And the guy is so defeated at having the joke taken away from him. And it is such a good Jan moment. It's very funny.
That is very good. Is the joke teller still carted away?
I don't think so.
Oh, good.
I think he is not at this point. And somebody else does get carted away, if I recall.
Yeah.
I think they still are trying to show you that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, so he, the storyteller, he's couched this in telling you a story about like the foundational drow society. Like, oh, yeah, we came down and we were still making a house out of grass. And then ultimately it turns out to be a joke. Ha ha. Like he is sent away into the pit of pain for profaning drow history like that.
Yeah. Jokes are not allowed.
Yeah. No jokes.
No jokes in the door.
There's other cool stuff happening here. So I didn't do an awful lot of like the gladiator combat or the duels, but I really enjoyed, and not enjoyed, I was fascinated by the concept of the explosion glyph. You know, like, if you understand the role that surface slaves have in the society, for fun, you can pay to press a button that casts an explosion glyph where a slave is standing and blow them up.
Yep. And there's such a commodity that if you do blow up somebody else's slave, you just have to pay for it.
Yes.
Like, I did all this stuff. Like, I did the gladiatorial combat, and there's basically two different kinds. There's the one-on-one combat, and then there is party combat versus monsters.
Right.
And it's just progressively difficult monsters. The way to cheese the one-on-one combat is summons will stay in the arena between fights.
Nice.
So I just had Minsk do the first one and had him summon a simulacrum, and then I had anybody do the next one, and they had a simulacrum with them.
Nice.
So you just get money and money for those and experience. There's no reason to do them other than that.
Right.
But there are like a couple little like weird things with that slave thing. There are little miniature quests. Like, did you run into the djinn?
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with it. Like, I didn't know how to help him.
So they're torturing a djinn where these drow are hanging around where half of them are hitting this djinn with spells and the other half are healing him.
Yeah.
Just for evil, and you can kill the djinn. You have to force attack it. And if you do, the person, because it's so matter of course, they say like, hey, that was my slave, like you fucked up. And you can try to bluff and say like, well, I was just participating. I was just trying to hurt him.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we've been doing this for days and we've been able to ride the line. Like, you're either lying to me or you're an idiot, and both of those things need to be punished.
Right.
So you have to buy the djinn off of her. But it's just like a way to get experience and put a creature out of its misery.
Yeah.
You know? You can also, did you buy the slaves? Did you buy the slave party?
Yes, I did. I've got all these side quests listed down here below,
okay.
but we can we can talk about those. Yeah, I did. After I talked to the house matron I ended up working with, like I bought them and I armed them and I said, "Hey, run for the surface." Mm-hmm. Yeah, like at this point, I think my reputation had dropped down to like 4 points.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, I think from siding with Bodhi, so I was looking for anything I could to raise my reputation.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Aboleth
is great.
Oh yeah, the Aboleth. We'll talk about the Aboleth in a minute. That's really, really good. So you talked in the end, you talked to Fairy. She says like, you're going to work for my house Despana. But you get some time. Go check out the city. And this is where they want you to go and do all the stuff. Like go fight in the arena, go for your djinn, do all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. So, just you go around, it's a fairly big city. Over in one far corner, you can find a drow spelljammer who just gotten back from Kryn space.
Yep, Kryn space. Let Spelljammer have its tiny little cameo.
Yes, I do have yuck in the notes.
I mean, it's dumb, but if they're going to pull everything in, you may as well pull it in, I guess.
Yeah.
No good.
Yeah. This is where you can buy those slaves. This is where you do the Aboleth. I love this because you get hailed by a Duergar saying like, "Hey, my master needs to talk to you. Can you just get near the tank?" In this tank is a gigantic fish thing. It's an Aboleth. He's crawled through your mind, figured out that you're an imposter. He wants you to go kill a priestess and bring back her brain for it.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm gonna check it. I need to find out what she knows. And you're like, I can't kill a drow priestess and drag her through town, you idiot. Yeah. And he's like, no, you don't have to drag her, just her brain.
Yeah.
Like drag her brain, I will read what I need from it.
So you can either do this or you can say, no, you're an ambassador and you're trying to get me to commit a crime against your hosts. We're at this uneasy peace here because you could rat me out, but I could also rat you out.
Yep. And he just kind of shrinks away from that. It's really great.
Yeah.
So either way you do it, but I love that that's a hidden option if you just because the first thing you say, you don't elaborate the first time. You just have to say no.
Yeah.
It's like a really simple thing. And if you do that, you think maybe he's going to expose you or it's going to be shunt you on to something else, but then you actually elaborate your reasoning.
Yeah.
So
very good.
Super great. Next thing that they want you to do when you talk to Fairy is there's a spell jamming beholder who's in the city who's smuggling adamantine. See, that's how they make their armor. Mm-hmm. You have to just go kill this beholder. Once you do, though, they say, save its eye stock.
Right.
Take it back to the lab. This is foreshadowing for later.
Yeah. There's some real, there's some hinky stuff going on that's not all being explained to you.
Yeah.
Is it normal for a cat to just fall off your lap all the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
They roll around. They don't have good balance.
Yeah.
It seems like they would, but they don't.
Yeah. No. Just I've had Greta in the room with me this entire time. This will stay in. She could just she insists on being up on my leg, and then she just blisses out and then just falls off of my lap. Yeah. I want to make sure there's nothing wrong with her.
No. They just melt.
My sweet girl has a brain tumor. No.
Too early for that.
Yeah. So you kill this beholder, potentially maybe the first beholder you fought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Depending if you didn't do the, the Unseeing Eye quest.
Yeah.
So, kind of a big deal, but we talked about beholder fights and this is just one of them. So it's not too bad.
Yeah. The other official task they need to do is go to these deep gnomes because they have not been sufficiently frightened of the drow recently.
Yeah. And they send your boy, Sulafine, did they say his name?
No.
You pronounce it away and I pronounce it away, but it's Solaufein.
Yeah. So I say Solaufine?
I think you said Fien last time.
Maybe.
I was saying Solafine.
When I'm uncertain, I just say it a bunch of different ways. So maybe one of them will be right.
It's something like that. I don't think they say it out loud. Yeah. But Solafine is supposed to come with you, and you have to, if you don't want to just kill a bunch of deep gnomes, and your party has a problem with this.
Yeah.
Then you have to convince Solafine, listen, buddy, you take a day off. I'll take care of this.
Yeah. And if his respect for you is high enough, he'll do this. He'll just say, yeah, I trust you for it.
Yep. And the way you pump that respect up is in dialogue options.
Right.
Being sympathetic to him, not, being tough to him, presenting as tough, but not being cruel.
Right.
Is what he respects.
Yeah.
So you take the Deep Gnome's helmet as a symbol, and then you send them on their way. When you talk to Fairy next time, she's listen, you got to kill Solafine.
Right.
We were once lovers. He's got to go. Bring back his magic cloak.
Right. So you can go and talk to Solafine and get a different kind of side of this, and hey, well, you could just go and kill him if you're just trying to play it straight, or you can warn him and say, yeah, I'm here for this, and he gives more of this history. Yeah, they used to be lovers, but a handmaiden noticed this, and it was not necessarily good for the Order of Lolth, so Fairy was tortured until all that was left was her ambition.
Yeah.
So you say,
there's huge consequences to killing him if you decide to do it, because it cuts off a pretty major way that this whole series of quests can end.
Yeah.
So Baldur's Gate doesn't trap you. There's, you're going to find a way forward, but if you want to be good, or if you want to have all the options available to you, you need to keep this guy alive.
Yeah. There's no way to get the Dragon Age to add the copy of Dragon Age, the Dragon Egg to Adelon, if Solafine is not alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a way to get the egg to her. There's not a way to do it without killing everybody in the Drow City.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that when we get to it, but there's a lot of different ways that can roll out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I told him, hey, I don't want to kill you. You seem fine. Give me your cloak, and you need to make yourself scarce. And so he decides to go off and be with the other followers of Elistray, Lady Silverhair, who is kind of the exact opposite of Lolth.
Yep. She takes the cloak back to Fairy, and Fairy's like, all right, you look like a snack. This is if you're a man, does this. If you're a lady, this doesn't happen.
Right.
And says hey, you look like a snack. Let's have sex. And if you have a romance with somebody, this will not go well.
No.
They do not like it. So to get out of it, you have to, this is another intelligence check. you have to either say lie and say you can lie and say that you don't swing that way, or you can lie with a certain amount of intelligence, or you can lie and say you're impotent.
Yes, and you phrase it as a curse. Like I bear this curse, etc.
It's like a noodle.
The spirit is willing, but the flesh is.
Yeah.
Yep. Cannot stand to attention. So lol, ed joke. And yeah, she's frustrated, but it takes you on to the next part of the quest. Yep. Which brings you right into the service of Mother Argulus.
Yep, you're actually introduced to the big mover and shaker. Yep. And you find out a little bit what she's doing. She's performing some kind of summoning ritual. And she needs to gather blood from one of the noble races of the nearby that they have to do this ritual. They tried to do it with the Beholder, but it was not a high enough rank Beholder.
Right. They need something from an Elder Orb.
Yep. So this is a branching path. Ultimately, you're going to want to do all these things. But again, you have 3 days because Underdark.
Yeah.
So you probably don't have time to do all 3. You're probably going to pick one, finish up the Drow City, and then do the other 2.
The nice part is the entrances to the other cities and lairs are just out in the overworld underworld. So you just do one as part of this quest and then go clean up the others.
Yep.
Yeah.
The trickiest part is that there's a couple side quests in the city. There's a Lich side quest thing, which we'll talk about a little later, that you need to do during this time.
Yes.
It's not open to you before you meet Mother Argulus, so you have to do it in one of these dungeons.
Yeah, and some of your time is already chewed up by this priestess who presses you into service to kill some of these worshippers of Gondahar, these slime cultists.
Yep. The odd man out when it comes to Drow gods, for sure.
Yep.
So there's three different neighbor races. The easiest one by far is the Koatoa City. Mm-hmm. Koatoa City, which is ruled over by an insane Koatoa prince.
These are like Underdark fishmen, like Sahuagin kind of dealies.
Yeah, not too different.
Yeah.
There's no story here. You just go through and kill. It's a big combat dungeon. With the weird thing is they built their thing up around a statue to the Demogorgon.
Right.
Foreshadowing. And ask for a sacrifice. If you summon an animal there and send that to the altar, you fight these 5 demon knights who are really fucking tough.
This is a really difficult fight. I was only able to accomplish it by separating them. I sent one person in to do the summoning and the placement, and then just got them one by one.
Me too. And just kind of trickled them out.
Yeah,
because they're extremely tough. But you do this to get a piece of the Cromfair,
right?
Which is the arguably at least tied with the best weapon in the game, if not the best weapon in the game.
Yeah. +5 legendary Warhammer.
Yep, that sets your strength to 25, which is the actual the crazy thing about it. Mm-hmm. Gives you the highest strength that's conceivable,
right,
in D&D. So this is enough to kind of finish that quest, but we'll talk about the other dungeons real quick because you can do any of them in any order. But typically, you're going to want to do one and then go back.
Right. I was disappointed in the Beholder City, Gary.
Yeah, there's not. If you hadn't already seen it. It might be cool.
Yeah, well, I did the Cult of the Unseeing Eye stuff, so, I already saw, the crazy bio hallways and stuff.
It's almost exactly the same.
Yeah, this tile set is extremely similar.
Yep. Which is kind of a bummer, but, literally the first Beholder you run into will do.
Yeah.
You can fight the first Beholder, grab his eye stalk, and just leave.
Yeah, and there's some good stuff. I forget specifically, but I don't know. There was a +4 sling that was really good for my wizard in here. Stuff like that.
Essentially, I mean, you were gathering strength and gathering treasure.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're doing here. So, yes, it's worth doing, but it's not particularly a great dungeon or anything. Of these 3, the Koatoa City is also not very good.
Right.
The real meat is the Illithid City.
Right. Because right away when you step in, you're captured because the Illithid have their shit together. They've got their racket. So you're stunned and you wake up in a cell and you've got an ogre who says we capture people to fight for the Illithid's amusement until they are deemed too boring to fight, and then we will eat their brains.
Yep. So you after you do a fight, and after that fight, your cellmates next to you are some Gith. They were also taken prisoner, and we know these Gith.
Yep.
This is what happened to the Gith that ambushed your ship.
Right.
So you got knocked down in the Sahuagin City. They went directly to the Underdark and were captured by these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Still, and they're ancient enemies. This is a real bad thing for them.
Yes.
And they say, like, listen, you have our silver sword. We hate you. However, we're not going to get out unless we team up.
Right.
So we can use our psychic powers to kind of stop the mind flayers from, controlling you for a moment just for you to escape, and then you have to help us escape.
Right.
So this introduces this kind of complicated dungeon that you go through. They do psychic combat with the mind flayers. You can leave, you kill the ogre, and then you have to kind of move through here. And the trick is that there are doors that are locked that only illithids can open.
Right.
So you have to go into this room full of goo and create these items. There are these illithid like slave collars.
Mm-hmm.
That you can put on illithids to make them open doors for you.
Yeah. Or some of those doors can just be opened by the Slayer, but you have to turn into the Slayer to make that happen.
All of the doors can be opened by the Slayer, you may not want to do that because of your reputation. One reason to do that is because these control circlets work outside of this dungeon.
Yep.
It is a dire charm that cannot fail, that you just have to get close enough to an enemy to use it.
Yeah.
So if you want a lich on your side, like, you can do that.
Yep.
With these things.
I
pretty
Them.
badass.
Yeah. Pretty good. But yeah, you work your way in, like you find some illithid brine that you can drink that will give you some resistance to to their attacks, and you go and kill the Elder Brain.
Yep.
Pretty badass. And also the most difficult thing I've done in the game up to this point.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Like it summons a lot of illithids and the ulithids, the tough ones, the extra tough guys. Cool dungeon. You take the Elder Brain, take any of these things, you go back to Usnatha.
Right.
You return the blood, and Fairy calls you back to her quarters, and she's like, listen, the matron's going to summon this powerful demon to wage war on the surface elves. However, she's a fool. I'm going to take over. This is how we do things. So and she's going to give these dragon eggs to the demon in exchange. Instead of that, why don't you swap out these fake eggs here? So she offers the demon a fake egg. The demon will kill her. I'll offer the real eggs, and the demon will follow me. I'll be the leader.
Right.
And you're like, well, shit, okay. And if you've killed your boy at this point, you can still go swap out the real eggs for the fake eggs and then kill everybody and get out. But at this point, the city's on lockdown. Once you have access to the eggs, you can't get out of the city without killing every drow inside it.
Right.
So that is an option here. But if you don't want to do that, or if you left your boy alone, he appears and says, listen, Fairy is dangerous. I don't want her taking over. Here are some fake eggs. So give both of you take the real eggs and give everyone else fake eggs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you break in. I used the sanctuary trick to get inside and do the swapsies, and then went to Fairy.
Explain what the sanctuary trick is.
Oh,
I know what it is, but just for
if you have a priest cast or a cleric cast sanctuary on themselves, basically nobody will notice or aggro on you. And if you're quick, you can just have them run into a guarded place, put whatever she needs to put into there, and then get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like stealth, but like better and more like just guaranteed to last.
In some ways, it's worse because you're not meant to like backstab out of it. You're invisible. You just can't be attacked.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to fight a bunch of drow. That was my thing.
No. Yeah. Well, and if you fight them, they raise the alert. You can't fight them.
Right.
So it's tricky. I didn't do the sanctuary thing. I just ended up casting a lot of invisibilities.
Yeah.
Like would do a thing, cast invisibility, do another thing that broke it, cast invisibility, etc. But yeah.
So you get to be present when the matron summons the demon, like, haha, you don't realize, like, what kind of treachery is this? Blah, blah, and, destroys her. Fairy says, aha, I have the real egg. Here, take this. And at that point, the demon just laughs.
The demon, he's a big shitting grin on his face. Like, he's way into it.
He's way into this treachery.
Yep. And, you betrayed her, the demon kills her. Mm-hmm. If you're evil, I don't know if you do this, there's a cool thing you can do is offer the demon the eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have the eggs and you're evil. And the demon's like, really? That's pretty great. And you can, in exchange, you can either get like a very powerful item or the demon can get you out of the Underdark.
Yeah.
In exchange for the egg. So they give just a lot of different ways of finishing this thing. If you do it the good way that we're talking about with the double switcheroo, you have about 60 seconds to get out of the city.
Yeah.
Before everyone notices, which is about how much time you need.
Yeah.
Like you do not have a lot of extra time.
You have time to like haste yourself and then get out of Dodge.
Yep. and just get out of there, because once the city is sealed up from you.
Yeah.
Because it's in chaos and you cannot get in there anymore. But you have your eggs, you take them to Adelon, and Adelon will grant you passage to the exit, and will teleport you there, which is right at the exit of the Koatoa city.
Yes.
And you can backtrack and kill things and do anything else you still want to do. But she puts you there. Yeah. And if you're real evil, you can then go kill her and use her blood to make the +5
the human
flesh
skin
armor. The human skin armor that Rajik was trying to make.
Yep. So you're probably thinking, wait, we did all that drow stuff and really Irenicus didn't factor in. Irenicus would have incited these drow to wage this campaign on the surface elves. Again, thinking, okay, yeah, no, this is all still part of his plan. And we still kind of helped out with it a little bit.
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things you can do, or there's one thing you can do that we haven't talked about.
Right.
That you can do while you're in the Underdark city. Which is a character named Jarlaxle, which I assume is from the books.
Yeah, so into this. Jarlaxle's great. He's a character in the original, the Origin trilogy, just a super crafty, rogue type kind of guy. He eventually goes to the surface as well, and he is just this notorious mercenary, like a swashbuckler, kind of clown prince kind of guy. Jarlaxle's a huge character in Forgotten Realms, and to get to meet him, especially under this kind of awesome double cross circumstance, I was like, fuck yeah, give me that Jarlaxle content.
Yeah, I don't know Jarlaxle, but I still thought it was cool.
Yeah. So you're walking along the pathways, and this merchant named Visage, he hails you down and says hey, I've got this item that a very famous drow once held. It's this golden rope that Jarlaxle made to fight against a lich. But there was this double switcheroo, and he got a fake rope, etc. But I've got the real one. I can sell it to you. And you can even just go into this lich's house, Darex. You can go into his house and, get whatever you want. Take that lich treasure, baby.
I love how, is a city of its size and has 3 or 4 liches in it. And Usnatha is comparatively pretty small, but it's the right size to have 1 lich.
Well, it's a little bit like House of Representatives, roughly 750,000 people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 lich represents 1 contingent of people. Liches are not like the Senate. That's what Rashakas are like.
Yes.
Every zone gets 1 or 2 Rashakas.
Yes.
But you get liches according to your population.
Yeah. The Rakshasa Senate is it's antiquated and just anti-democratic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Electoral College is the bane of Baldur's Gate. I would love House of Representatives of Liches.
Oh yeah,
House of Representatives of Liches.
Well, so there's still people, not liches. I mean,
no. It's just or House of Liches, House of Lich Representatives.
I mean, obvious joke. What would be the difference? Am I right? Look at some of these guys.
Yeah. Mitch McConnell. Lich McConnell?
Yeah,
Lich, give me a break.
Please.
Lich McConnell is definitely a thing.
He sacrificed his jaw.
Yeah. Yep. And if you have it, it's a powerful cursed Vecna item.
Just tell me Steve King isn't a lich. Come on.
Yeah, Steve King is definitely a lich. All racists are liches.
But not all liches are racist.
Yeah, no, some liches are actually pretty good. And liches are maybe too badass for racists.
Yeah.
All racists are Otugyas. They're tugging on their fucking dirt puds. Just yanking on their dust chains. Gross. Get your gross dicks out of my face, you shitty racist.
Curtain poles. Yeah.
I don't care for it. I don't care for it at all.
Yeah. So you can buy this golden rope, and when you go in, Darax attacks hey, you fool! Turns out you have this rope. You're actually pulled into Jarlaxle's pocket dimension. Visage is working with Jarlaxle. He's his lieutenant as part of the Brigand Earth, this mercenary band that Jarlaxle runs. He was testing my courage to see if I was dumb enough to go in and help him recover several gems that contain the souls of his mercenaries, kind of a no man left behind kind of deal.
Yep. And he pretty much blackmails you, similar to the Aboleth.
Right.
So it's no, I know your true identity. If you don't do this, I will expose you.
Mm-hmm.
You get 1 day, and then you're already within a 3-day time limit for this.
Right.
So you go back, you fight Darex, who's a tough lich. you loot his tower. When you grab the gems, as soon as you grab the gems, Darlaxle pulls you back to his HQ, and he was lying. He just wants the gems.
Right. Yeah, they don't have any souls in them. They're just incredibly valuable. Turns out, one of the other houses here, not the house that you were working with, had contracted Regenderth to do a job, but they shorted them on payment. So you have gone and killed their lich and stole their priceless jewels in order to recoup the expense.
And he's like, hey, I'm sorry about this, but check this out. They're not guarded right now.
Right, so you can just go and kill all of them and loot more. I was still on the time limit, so I didn't do it. But
yeah, it's tough. Yeah. It's like a tough fight with a lot of different drow, but you get a lot of like pretty good treasure from it. So yeah, and that's all the stuff you can do in the Drow City, and you are free to leave at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't this time around. I usually kill all the dragons in the game. This time around, I didn't kill the silver dragon because I didn't know whether I didn't feel like pausing the game and looking up if my paladin would leave. You know, if I did,
that seems like a thing that would happen.
Yeah. Because you know, Adelon is good.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see it just because I wanted to see what the white dragon fight was like, because they have different breath weapons.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can fight a white dragon?
Yeah.
Is that Adelon?
Or no, silver
okay,
dragon.
yeah.
Sorry, yeah, not white. Whoops. But fight a silver dragon because it would have a different... I think the way it looks in the game is white.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's no silver dragon that you can fight. At least there might be... There are more dragon fights in Throne of Ball, but I'm not far enough in it in this replay to see what's happening. There's one more dragon fight that we have on our docket.
Right.
So next episode, we will be talking about kind of wrapping everything up. So we're going to talk about the rest of the story, which is actually pretty brief.
Mm-hmm.
We go back to the city. We go to the land of elves, and we go to hell. And we do all those things, and it's pretty great.
Yeah.
We'll also be doing any kind of, if there's anything we missed, which I don't think there is. If you got a chance to, because I beat the game without doing this, I mentioned I missed the Limited Wish adventure.
I did it.
Did you get? Okay, you can talk to me about the Limited Wish adventure.
Yeah. I know you also reminded me to do it because you hadn't done it. So
yeah, I just forgot about it. Like it's not. I didn't have Limited Wish before I came back to the city, and once I got back to the city, my eyes were kind of on the prize.
Yeah.
And I also thought I had done everything. I just forgot a couple things.
Yeah. So the next episode will also include listener responses. As you're listening, we are you have like a day on the early feed to get in your responses. If you're on the regular feed, sorry, it's already passed.
You knew this was coming.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And so that's about it. This has been fun. Looking forward to wrapping it up. If you have things, if you have things to say about our January games,
yes,
you can hit us up. It's not too late for that. So if you have things to say about River City Ransom, Owlboy, or Final Fantasy X, you can hit us up at Duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yes. So that's the big call to action, at least in terms of content. There's other stuff you can do. You can go to patreon.com/DuckFeed.tv.
Yep. That's the big one.
Mm-hmm.
So any amount really helps. $5 a month, you get a lot of value and stuff. And keep an eye on that space.
Yeah. We're going to have some stuff in the new year.
Yep. So look forward to that. We're still hammering out the details, but I think people will like it.
Yes.
So keep an eye on that. You can also rate and review the show on iTunes. You can tell your friends about it. That's very handy and useful. Thanks to everybody who donated for Duckstream.
Yeah.
It's by the time we're recording this, just a day before it starts. So it will be too late. If it's an early release, you can still tune in. But it is almost too late for you, or it's close to too late. So I just want to thank everybody in retrospect for participating.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they will.
Mm-hmm. Think so. It's going to be a good time. I'm very excited for my little gimmick that I'm going to do in lieu of the confetti cannons. So,
yeah, it's going to be a good fun time.
Yep.
I think that's about it.
Think so.
Yeah. So until next time, what should they watch out for?
Watch out for aboleths. That can't be the only one. Is that the only aboleth in games?
As far as I know.
Damn it.
I haven't played all of those. I bought the GOG D&D set and had this idea of going through all of them because there's those weird mid-2000s ones.
Oh, yeah,
that Atari had. And they're good. Like the Forgotten Realms, like the Dritz one, that is the same as the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's not like Dritz makes a cameo in that. That's its own thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or did Demon Stone.
Demon Stone. Demon Stone's good. Dragon Shard is good.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good games. They might have aboleths in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dragon Shard is really weird. Like, I don't know if you play Dragon Shard, but it's a really weird RTS.
Okay, yeah. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, it's super strange.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Demon Stone's fun. I've toyed with the idea of doing an AS on that. It's not necessarily bad. I just don't know that there's a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
As like a hack and slash kind of thing. But
yeah. Anywho, we'll see you next episode.
Good night.
Everybody. Good night. Il nostro ragazzo in italiano.
Non disperare, ti ispirerò caricando alla cieca. Siamo tutti eroi, tu e Bo e io. Criceti e Rangers ovunque gioiscono. Questo comportamento non deve continuare. Sottoponiti allo sguardo penetrante del mio criceto e cambia atteggiamento. Questo non è giusto. Cambia percorso o dovrò eseguire un pesante colpo di virtù. Bo non può sopportare tanto. Minsk condurrà con la spada e lo stivale. Bo si occuperà dei dettagli. Dobbiamo riposare presto. Bo sta diventando scoiattoloso. Bo deve fare esercizio, altrimenti ci morde tutti dove non batte il sole. Colpisce gli occhi, Bo! Colpisce gli occhi! Senti lo schiaffo della giustizia!